What's going on, fellow A-plusers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new episode here of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news. Streaming live for you guys over on YouTube. You can also catch us live over on Twitch, as well as our main page, which is, in fact, our Facebook page also, guys. So definitely coming to you guys from different locations. So wherever you guys are at, thank you so much for certainly joining us today. I know we've been kind of off and on the past month or so. Schedules have been a little bit hectic. Somebody trying to find time to watch the baby for me in the mornings on Sundays have become a little bit more difficult. And my co-hosts, unfortunately, have not been able to participate in a couple of these A-Plus Hero Report shows. So today, it is, in fact, going to just be myself solo for you guys. And to be honest with you, man, I lost a lot of motivation here this week, especially getting towards today in regards to coming up with a bunch of articles and stories to talk about. So honestly, today, it's going to be a little bit of a mixed bag in regards to whatever we can kind of come up with to certainly talk about today. If anything, we usually post all of our news and articles over on our Facebook page. So I'm probably just going to scroll through the Facebook page today, see what's certainly interesting, and definitely go ahead and talk about with you guys. And then, of course, towards the end of the show, we'll be getting to your guys' live viewer questions, as I know some people certainly did go ahead and drop live viewer questions. So we definitely will be getting to those for you. No honorable mentions today. But I will say this in the sense of, you know what? Let me go ahead and pull up. I'm going to pull up this banner real quick. Since we don't have honorable mentions, I will put help wanted as we are in the process of trying to grow our channel here. But it's been a little bit difficult because some of our co-hosts have been a little bit inconsistent for whatever reason, their own particular reasons that they're certainly dealing with. And so I am on the search for additional co-hosts. We are opening up our membership here. If you know anybody, or if anybody out there has any sort of experience in front of the camera, or at least wants to get some experience, if you've ever thought about having your own YouTube channel or doing your own kind of weekly videos, I am looking for consistent collaborators and consistent co-hosts that can certainly come through, whether that be on a weekend basis for A-Plus Hero Report, whether that be a weekly television show that you certainly review, similar to how we wind up bringing Indy and Stuart in. They were actually watching the channel. I think they were like subscribers to the show. I really enjoyed some of their work that they wind up doing and wind up certainly bringing them into the fold, if you will. So we are in the process right now of bringing people on, and for different areas too, because we are looking to grow. The secret is I do have a logo that is currently being done right now. I'm trying to go ahead and do a rebranding of A-Plus Hero Report with a brand new logo. I'm hoping to have it towards the end of April here, but I'll definitely keep you guys posted. And in doing the rebranding, if you will, I personally would like to bring on additional co-hosts. Indy and Stuart will certainly still be here whenever they can, but for their own personal life and their own personal reasons, it's become very inconsistent for them at times, and I need consistency here, especially for you guys. So again, we are opening our doors. Look, we got different things that we can certainly utilize. If you're great at social media and you know how to go ahead and post and market and whatever the case may be, promote. If you think you're really great at that when it comes to social media, whether that means creating reels or YouTube shorts or whatever the case may be, or just posting news and reposting what we're doing here on our YouTube channel, we certainly would love to have you on board if you want to do something along the social media side of things and maybe not have your face certainly on camera so much. But if you are interested in getting in front of the camera and doing some sort of reviews, look, if there's any particular weekly show out there, if you do more streaming where, they drop an entire season, if you want to review a season or review movies off of streaming services, something along those lines, we're definitely open to as well. But look, if you are interested in joining the team, certainly go ahead and reach out to me. You can reach out to me at aplusopinions at gmail.com if you want to go ahead and email me or shoot me a message on any social media if you would like to. But we are opening the doors for other members to certainly join. Now that we're monetized, we definitely want to do our best to not only continue to stay consistent, but also hopefully with your guys' support, not only continue to add better technology and have better production value for the show, but be able to do much bigger things. And hopefully that includes bringing more and more people on board. So if you are interested in joining the family, or again, even if you want to maybe don't want to get in front of the camera, but you want to post news, post information on our social media, we're always looking for people to go ahead and help us out, whether that be our Facebook page, Twitter page, or Instagram as well. So definitely plenty of room as our membership here is hopefully going to continue to grow here relatively soon, guys. So yeah, if you are interested, again, we are looking to branch out and expand our roster here. So yeah, if you would like to be a contributor to the channel in any way, feel free to contact me again at aplusopinions at gmail.com, or hit me up on social media if you would like to. So that was my little PSA for the day. What are you guys saying today? Who's up in here with us? We got Marcelino in the house. He says, "Hey, I just started watching Runaways. Haven't finished season 1 yet, but it's basically Naomi done right." Runaways was always a series that I wanted to check on Hulu, and unfortunately, I just never did. But I always heard great things about it. I found myself jumping more on board with like Cloak and Dagger, and I wind up unfortunately missing out on the Runaways thing. Dino Knights, what's up, AJ? Certainly good to see you in here, man. Got the opportunity to meet his David Yost yesterday. We definitely talked about that, AJ. So I'm really glad that you made your day and that you're actually alive today. That you get to remember that moment. Definitely a core memory for sure, I think, for you. What's up, Carter? Good to see you in here, man. The most talented man in the world has joined us also. Good old Jack Daniels is certainly here also. Power Rangers Legacy, what's up? Nicole Robertson certainly coming through. And of course, we got Francois, our international superstar, and my fellow handsome twin here. What's up, Adam? Good to see you as always, man. Always good to see you. Look, man, I am in the process right now. Things have been really difficult over here, honestly, if I can be just completely blunt and honest with you. The trying to figure out a schedule that really works best for everybody, especially just in my own household, to allow me to be able to get a few hours to kind of do this show is becoming more and more difficult. I do need to have a sit down conversation with everybody and try and maneuver and figure things out, because while I still love and very passionate about what I do, the inconsistency for me is really bringing me down, man. And it's really just dragging me, honestly. So I definitely need to go ahead and make sure that we can get back on a more consistent basis for you guys. And so we'll definitely talk a little bit more about trying to see like what day really works best for everybody, that we can certainly make this work. So we hopefully will be able to get back onto a more consistent basis for you guys. But again, a lot of that I think comes from also our lack of a roster around here. And so I definitely am looking for additional co-hosts to certainly bring on board. So again, that's either in front of the camera or even behind the camera. If you guys are interested in joining A Plus Hero Report, definitely go ahead and let me know. We got Abase in the house with us too, along with Kurt Marino. What's up, Kurt? Good to see you, man. All right. You know what? Let's go ahead and get into some topics today. Again, for those of you who are just joining us randomly, this is going to be a little bit of a mixed bag. I don't really have any particular stories detailed, with the exception of maybe like 3 stories that I know for a fact I want to go ahead and talk with you guys about. But outside of that, it's really just going to be, hey, what caught my eye certainly this week. And if you guys have any particular news articles or topics that rumors or whatever case that you guys might have read, definitely go ahead and let me know about that in the comment section, and maybe that's or the live chat, and maybe that's something I'll go ahead and try and pull up and we could discuss a little bit further. So let's go ahead and get into our first topic of the day, and that will in fact be our Marvel's teaser trailer that we wind up getting here sometime earlier this week. I actually did go ahead and rewatch the trailer before I actually sat down with you guys, and I'm always amazed to kind of see like the numbers that a trailer does in regards to views. For instance, when I look at the Marvels here, it was released 5 days ago, and and it's at 16 million views already. Same thing with Across the Spider-Verse trailer that we wind up getting, our second trailer. That was done almost 2 weeks ago, about 12 days ago, and that's already at 35 million views. So I'm always blown away about the numbers of views that some of these movies wind up attracting within a short period of time. And to be honest with you, for the Marvels, 16 million views in 5 days ain't bad if you ask me. I think if anything, that screams a lot of excitement, and I think a lot of people were eager for what this movie could certainly become. Let me just say, first off, Beastie Boys Intergalactic soundtrack, extremely great choice. Absolutely loved it. It puts me in a vibe every single time. So they immediately got my attention with that. And because of just the fun nature that is that soundtrack, it goes perfectly well with this trailer in the sense of just seeing how fun this trio, I think, certainly is going to be on screen. I really am looking forward to seeing what the chemistry is certainly like, seeing Aman Vellani in there as Kamala Khan, and her already sort of being an Avengers fanboy. You can already see it in here that her eagerness certainly gets the best of her for sure from time to time. Not only is she eager to see Nick Fury, but she gets to team up with some of her besties that she's always admired, especially Captain Marvel, along with what do they call her? Spectrum. I think they're calling her Spectrum in this particular movie, and I'm talking about Photon, Monica Rambeau. Um, but the dynamic looks fun. The concept of like the changing of the powers and then switching places with each other, very gimmicky if you ask me. But I think it could be a really fun gimmick that could allow for some great humorous sort of moments, if you will. I think this trailer definitely kind of sets the tone and the vibe of what this is. That it's definitely going to have its fair share of humor, its wackiness, but yet some really great action. There's a great shot in here that I see of I don't know if the three of them are training or if they're legit fighting against each other. But it seemed like a great action piece where you get to see how the switching places when you activate your powers really come in handy, because it's a cool shot of like Kamala Khan about to throw a fist at Captain Marvel, and just as she does it, she switches places with Spectrum and it's a beam instead. And then you see Captain Marvel turn to the other side, and now Miss Marvel's on the opposite side of her, getting ready for her attack. I thought it was a really cool shot, and I think they can have a lot of fun when it comes to how they do their action. Some tag team moves, perhaps, with that idea of switching places rather quickly upon using your powers. So pretty fun stuff. There's some characters in here I'm really fascinated with. It looks like we have like a female version of a Ronin. I don't know who she is as a character in the comics, so I definitely am going to have to learn. We got a lot more cats in this particular movie, and I will say one of my favorite sequences or shots in this trailer was seeing Kamala Khan meet Goose the cat for the very first time after it eats like 2 or 3 people, and she literally freaks out. I think that's probably as natural of a reaction I think anybody can certainly have. So especially when you're not used to seeing things like that, I thought it was absolutely brilliant just to see that blood curdling scream that Kamala Khan wound up having. There looks like there's even a dance sequence in here too. Everybody looks great, honestly. Monica as Spectrum, I'm really fascinated. She looks like she's kind of really taking the lead in this movie. Again, this is just a teaser trailer, so this is like our first images of really seeing it. Clearly, we're going to get maybe a little bit more storyline details in like the official trailer and things like that. But this is kind of just a hype machine, and for me, it certainly did. But it does feel like Monica, especially as she's working alongside Nick Fury, seems to have sort of like that leadership role that I find really fascinating. I thought the execution of her powers, like seeing the actual like a weapon kind of phase through her, since she can, I think she says she can manipulate like the light spectrum or whatever the case may be. I thought it was really cool to kind of see how they executed some of her abilities in here. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty more for us to certainly go ahead and check out for ourselves. I'm just going to go ahead and play the trailer in the background for myself just to see if there's anything else I missed. Oh, the Saber space station I thought was pretty fascinating. I'm kind of curious as to how long it's taken them to go ahead and build that, and like how long has this thing been in space? Because they've never mentioned it before in any other MCU movie, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is the first time that we're getting an opportunity to see the space station for certainly what it is. But I think it's cool that they managed to bring it to life from the comic books. So that's pretty intriguing. And for me, it's just going to, for me, the issue that I will have with this movie, and I am kind of curious to see how others will take it. Um, it's the idea of like having to have watched Miss Marvel to fully understand things. Like, I do wonder how this movie will kind of simplify it, if you will, for the general audience that maybe hasn't seen Miss Marvel. And look, and I think that's one of the things um that I feel might hurt this particular movie, because before I didn't think that we needed to do like Marvel homework before going into a movie. I always felt like phase 1 through 4 was very easy for people to just kind of come into the movie and sit down and watch it for what it is and kind of be caught up relatively well. And now that we're getting into these new phases and they've expanded to these shows on Disney Plus, not everybody in the general public has Disney Plus or is going to watch all of these shows. So I do wonder if that will hurt the eyes on this particular movie, or I should say, how it will be received for some people that maybe don't know Miss Marvel. So for me, it's going to be all about execution, and to see just how well the writers really kind of bring the audience sort of into the fold and learn who Kamala Khan is if they haven't seen the series yet. So if there is a concern I have, is probably that, and that probably goes along with other MCU movies kind of going forward. The idea of having to do maybe more homework, if you haven't necessarily seen everything before catching some of these films. But we'll see how it works out. But other than that, the chemistry looks really great. I've heard a ton of rumors of Brie Larson being pissed off on set and not necessarily being the easiest to work with. Honestly, I haven't heard anybody like from a legit source, or even like anybody from the cast or crew kind of come out and talk about Brie Larson. The way that I see them in this movie, it looks like they have a hell of a good time. Some of the interviews that I've seen from Brie Larson, she's just praising Kamala Khan, and how well everything went, in regards to bringing these characters to life on screen together. So this feels very girl power to me, man. And I think they all got each other's backs. And I'm going to be really fascinated to kind of see how this turns out. But for me, Kamala Khan won me over in Miss Marvel. I thought it was such a great series. Monica continues to grow on me, especially considering that I know her connection to Captain Marvel from the very first film. So to kind of see how they all work alongside each other, for me, will really be the what makes or breaks this movie. So again, this is just a teaser, but I think the tone, the humor, the fun elements are certainly there. I'm hoping that when it comes to the official trailer, though, they really sink their teeth into letting us know what the bigger overall picture and really overall threat of this particular movie certainly might be. Because listen, while I enjoy the goofy and the humorous, right, I feel like we've gotten a lot of that lately, whether that be from Thor, Love and Thunder. We're going to have Guardians of the Galaxy certainly right around the corner. But I do think James Gunn brings a great balance to his stuff. So I do expect there to be very heavy emotional tolls and stakes at play in that movie. And so I'm kind of hoping that the same thing is in this film also, in the sense that, hey, it's great that you've showed us the fun, the gimmicky stuff that really works when it comes to big action set pieces and stuff. But I'm really hoping that there's more substance behind all of this, instead of like, hey, look, we're switching places every time we use powers. Isn't that funny, guys? So as long as there's more to it than just that, I think we might be in good shape. But overall, I really was really impressed. I had a really good time checking out the Marvels teaser trailer, and we'll be eager to see what they do next. Marcelino says, I just checked the comment section on the Marvels trailer, and it's filled with Samuel L. Jackson memes for some reason. That's funny. Marcelino says Monica Rambeau's superhero name is Photon. Yeah, I know it's Photon, but there's something that I don't know if that's the name that they're going with in the movie. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are going with her with that name in the movie. I thought they were going to go with like Spectrum for her, but I certainly could be wrong. Either one is fine. That's what they definitely. She's got different names, I should say, in the comic books too. So whatever they settle on is more than fine. What's up, Tatilla? Certainly good to see you in here. Enjoy your Impact's Rebellion. Certainly enjoy that. And Marcelino says, I hope we get a reason why all their powers are connected and just the fact that they all have Marvel in their name. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're probably going to dig a little bit deeper in regards to how their powers are connected. I feel like they kind of hinted or teased at that in Miss Marvel a little bit. And I wonder if maybe even Shang-Chi will pop up in this movie, because I do feel like maybe his gauntlets or his bracelet or his rings, I guess you can say, along with even Miss Marvel's bracelets, I do wonder if they are connected also in some instance. And the only reason why I say this is because I think even at the end of the Shang-Chi movie, like in the post-credit, I believe it was Captain Marvel that was there in on the meeting, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Sorry, I'm just having myself a little late night coffee. What else did I put on the banner to talk about here this week? What's our next article? Oh, let's talk some James Gunn. Let's go over to some DC real quick. I thought this was a pretty interesting story here this week. Let me go ahead and pull this up. I'm gonna share this screen with you guys. Oh, I thought I had this ready to go. Creature Commandos are in the news this week. We're finally getting some further details here in regards to James Gunn's first upcoming DCU project. We got the full cast. They initially revealed the full cast for James Gunn's Creature Commandos, and just as a reminder, these cast members will actually be reprising their roles in live action if these characters ever get the opportunity to go ahead and join an actual film. It says Collider can exclusively reveal the entire cast of the Creature Commandos, which is set to be the first animated series within the DCU timeline. As expected, the series will feature the voice talents of James Gunn as Weasel, who will be joined by Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr. So he's actually Rick Flag Jr.'s father that we saw Rick Flag Jr. from the Suicide Squad. So Frank Grillo will in fact be playing Rick Flag Sr. We got Maria Bakalova as Princess Rostovich, followed by Indira Varma, excuse me, as the Bride of Frankenstein. We got Zoe Chow as Nina Mazursky. We also have Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus. First off, I love me some Alan Tudyk. I'm assuming Alan Tudyk, Dr. Phosphorus, I would assume he is the fire guy in the lab coat. Who else do we have here? David Harbour as Frankenstein. So yeah, you got David Harbour here as the Frankenstein monster. David Harbour also played Hellboy, and you can also see him in Stranger Things. And then, of course, this also says Sean Gunn as GI Robot. Is that right? Is Sean Gunn playing two different voices? He's playing the Weasel and GI Robot. That's interesting. And Steve Agee reprises his role as John Economos. I don't really know too much about who that particular character is. It says, now that the whole Creature Commandos cast has been revealed, we can start wondering when these characters' live action versions will appear next. Harbour, for instance, is the perfect choice to become Eric Frankenstein. Says, and Tudyk's Dr. Phosphorus would be perfectly primed for a cameo in a Batman movie, given the two characters' extensive comic book history. I didn't know Dr. Phosphorus was on the Batman side of things. The 7-episode show will focus on an unusual team of DC characters, frequently called monsters. And it is one of the projects that James Gunn is thinking about doing. He did recently just come out and mention that Creature Commandos will be dropping in 2024. So we will be getting this in 2024. Superman Legacy begins in 2025. But DCU, James Gunn's DCU, really kicking off with Creature Commandos here in 2024. He didn't give a specific date, but if I'm not mistaken, when they first originally announced the DCU slate, the first two projects that they announced before Superman and Legacy was Creature Commandos, along with Waller, the Amanda Waller series. So if this is set to go ahead and come out in 2024, it would not surprise me. Again, if I had to make a prediction, I would say maybe summer of 2024. This maybe drops. I have a feeling that they haven't made an announcement yet, but something tells me Amanda Waller might come towards the very end of 2024. Like, I can see Amanda Waller 2024 being like early winter, or just as the calendar turns into 2025 to maybe give us the Amanda Waller series. So I can see Waller kind of being on the edge of 2024, 2025. And then Creature Commandos, according to James Gunn, will be released in 2024, but he didn't clarify when. So if I'm speculating, maybe give me the tail end of summer leading into fall type of thing. But I am kind of curious to know when you guys think this will certainly drop. So again, let's go ahead and go over the cast members once again. So you got Sean Gunn as Weasel here, all the way to the far right, drooling on himself. That's Sean Gunn. According to this, it also says Sean Gunn will be playing G.I. Robot, which is right next to the Weasel here. It also says Frank Grillo will be playing Rick Flag Sr. all the way here to your far left. It actually kind of looks a little bit like Frank Grillo, I'm not going to lie. Then you got Maria Bakalova playing Princess Rostovic, which I believe is the amphibian female inside of her water tank there. Then you've got Indira Varma as the bride. As you can see, the bride of Frankenstein there, looking great. She's on our thumbnail also. Zoe Chow as Nina Mazursky. I don't guess maybe she's not in this photo. But then you got Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus, the man on in flames, and then David Harbour as Frankenstein. So great lineup, man. Great lineup. Very talented people, to certainly say the least. So very much looking forward to Creature Commandos. It's odd that, it's going to be it's going to be animation that kicks off this slate, if you will. But I am really fascinated to learn about some of these characters, especially in animation form, because it does allow you to have these big bombastic sort of action set pieces that you can't necessarily do when it comes to live action. So I do think it's going to be pretty intense and pretty fun. And if you know James Gunn's humor, this kind of feels like something that's lined up to play along the lines of like a Suicide Squad. But we'll see how it turns out, guys. But yeah, Creature Commandos officially cast. Let's see here. Frank Grillo said he was disappointed how the MCU didn't use Crossbones more. Hopefully, for his sake, Rick Flag Sr. will last a long time in the James Gunn's DC universe. We'll see, man. We'll see. I think he's probably going to get about the same amount of appearances as he did as Crossbones. I think he only had like two appearances, was like Winter Soldier and then in the Civil War. So look, I understand his disappointment. I do wish that he played a much bigger role than what he did in something like a Captain America movie. I think that would have been pretty cool. But yeah, they killed him off relatively. I don't want to say relatively easy, but he was always a pretty formidable foe. I always thought of Captain America. So to kind of see him killed like that and not utilized even more, a little bit of a bummer. So I can understand Frank Grillo's disappointment. Marcino says John Economos is the fat guy tack with the glasses. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that for me. I'm curious to see how the Creature Commandos will play out in a larger world of DC, because you could create DC universe without having Creature Commandos, since they really aren't that important or popular. I mean, we really don't know the importance, right? James Gunn could make their very first mission a relatively important one that does have some sort of impact on overall scheme of things. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It definitely is a project that no one expected to be greenlit, but with James Gunn on board, while this certainly feels like it could be just a random DC animation that people shouldn't care about, I do think it very much will have an impact on certainly what comes after. Like it just feels odd to me that James Gunn would create a a project so early on into his DCU slate that is meaningless. You know what I mean? So we may not necessarily understand its importance or popularity for the DCU, but James Gunn definitely does, and I think he'll, you know, um, I think he'll show their worth for sure. And who knows? Maybe we get ourselves a new batch of great characters to certainly enjoy and love for sure. What else we got here? Oh, I thought this was another interesting article here to talk about this week. Um, Real quick before I do, good old Jack Daniels. What's up, Jack? He says, "Are you pumped for the MMPR special this week?" I am. I am. I'm pretty stoked, man. I'm pretty stoked. The closer it gets, I can't really contain myself. You know, there's a part of me that knows that we have a fan stream tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. I think Hasbro has a fan stream tomorrow. I unfortunately work from the office. I got to see what time it is. Maybe it's something that I can listen to while I'm at work, but that definitely will get people pumped 2 days out before once and always. But yeah, I'm really excited, man. Wednesday's going to be a big day. I'm a little bit bummed that I didn't take the day off like I certainly should have. Um, but I'll probably watch it either on my lunch. Well, it's 55 minutes. I might actually have to watch it when I get home. If anything, maybe sometime Wednesday night if I can. If not Wednesday night, then maybe Thursday. No, I can't do it Thursday night either. You know, I may not talk about Once and Always until like Friday or Saturday, honestly, guys. Um, but I'll definitely be watching it same day it comes out. There's no way I'm not watching it when it's released, so I'm definitely checking it out. Let's see here. Another topic for today that I found interesting. James Bond is back in the news, baby. James Bond. You know, Daniel Craig had his last outing as the hero. And the big question right now is who is going to take over? I think a lot of the speculation for some of us was the idea that they would probably go younger so that they can, you know, keep them around for longer, you know, longer years type of thing. But younger isn't necessarily on their mind. Younger may not necessarily be better in this sense. This is from the James Bond casting director. Younger actors have lacked the gravitas and the mental capacity to play 007. I mean, if that's not like a you need to be this tall to ride this ride sort of mentality, man, they definitely keep catching people up in regards to like, look, man, if you want to come out for this casting job, you're gonna need to bring it. And some 20 something year old person that's barely lived their life or experienced anything, maybe not be able to handle the ride that comes with being James Bond. This is in a new interview with Radio Times. Longtime James Bond casting director Debbie McWilliams explain why younger actors usually don't fit when it comes to finding a new James Bond. She says, when we started, it was a slightly different feel. It says we did look at a lot of younger actors, and I just didn't think they had the gravitas. They didn't have the experience. They didn't have the mental capacity to take on because it's just not the part they're taking on. It's a massive responsibility. She also added, so we kind of scrubbed that idea and went back to the drawing board and started again. It says the team settled on Daniel Craig, who was in his 30s at the time. The decision did not receive unanimous praise. As McWilliams told Entertainment Weekly back in 2021, she felt sorry for Craig after his casting led to extreme blowback from press who thought Craig didn't fit the part of Bond. It was unbelievably negative, I have to say. The press response was awful, and I felt so sorry for him. But in a funny kind of way, I think it almost spurred him on to do his damnedest to prove everybody wrong. The whole way through the film, stuff would come out about how he couldn't walk and talk, he couldn't run, he couldn't drive a car properly. So much stuff which was completely and utterly untrue. And he just kept his head down, got on with the job. And then when the film came out, everybody went, oh, wow, I think we quite like him after all. The search for his replacement will begin at some point this year, is what the producers have certainly said. It says when people go, oh, who are you going to get? It's not just about casting an actor for the film. It's about the reinvention and where are we taking it? What do we want to do with the character? And then once we figure that out, who's the right person for that particular reinvention? And I thought that was pretty interesting, honestly. Her points of view on that. So it does at least let us know one, um, that casting has not begun yet, that they are planning on at least doing that a little bit later on in the year. And if anything, it just also goes to show just the idea of what these people that are coming out to cast for understand kind of what they're getting themselves into. But I understand it. Well, first off, let me just speak on the Daniel Craig stuff. Look, Daniel Craig got blasted just like Hugh Jackman got blasted. We tend to have a mindset of like who we think is going to be perfect for a role, or who we think is going to like is the only person that can kind of play this role. And sometimes we even get ahead of ourselves before casting's even done. And so when the casting announcement is done, sometimes people are like, really, this guy? But in reality, we don't necessarily know what they're going for, what the script is certainly asking for. So when you do get people that get the opportunity to read these casting sides and go out for these particular roles, the people that we may certainly have in mind maybe doesn't necessarily line up with that because of the fact that they're just not looking for that particular type of James Bond. That James Bond or that actor that plays James Bond isn't quite fitting the direction that they want their script to go into, or even what type of movie that they certainly want to go ahead and create. And I think that's what she explained really towards the end, that once we have sort of like that script in mind and we have an idea of like where we want to take this James Bond, how we want to do these films, once we know that, then we can go ahead and find the perfect person to kind of fit that role. But I do think that she's right in the sense that I do think that you do need life experiences, that you do need to, because it's one of those like, look, even though you're an actor, like you really got to make me kind of believe it. You know what I mean? And to have somebody that's like under 30, 20, 25, 26, maybe a lot of life experiences that they certainly still have yet to go through. I mean, look, is there a big difference between 25 and 30 or 25 and 35? I would probably say, yeah. I would probably say, yeah, just in regards to really where your life takes you when you hit your 30s. The perspective that you get, I think, it certainly allows for you to be a lot more introspective in your own life, and I think that really is what adds sort of that gravitas, understanding your character, your role. Maybe you may not necessarily be a secret agent in real life, but for emotional things that a 30-something-year-old or a 40-something certainly might go through, that say a James Bond might be experiencing, you probably want somebody that has gone through those same experiences, or at least at that point, their point in life, understand what going through those kind of experiences truly mean to them. So I do think there's a lot of truth to what she's certainly saying. And I think if anything, it probably will allow us now as the general public to kind of do some casting of our own, some fantasy casting of our own, if you will, and now try and look for people that are above 30 years old that certainly might be able to do that. Because again, Daniel Craig was in his 30s at the time, and they managed to get 5 movies out of this dude before he decided to certainly go ahead and call it quits. So I think 30 is a pretty good age to go ahead and bring in your James Bond. And if I'm not mistaken, I think even for him at 30, when you go back and you check out Casino Royale, that's really supposed to be, I think, like James Bond's first kill, or at least in the in the beginning half of the movie, at least, right? So still very much relatively young agent at the age of 30. So look, I don't know who's going to fill Daniel Craig's shoes. I was a big fan of his, but I thought it was pretty interesting that they talked a little bit about the casting here this week. Let's see here. What else we got for you guys today? Oh, here we go. I thought this was a pretty good, interesting piece of news today. This comes to us from Deadline.com. We've talked over the past couple of months now, if not the past year or so. Amazon Prime, or just the company Amazon in general, have really been acquiring some amazing properties as of late. Striking deals for the Tomb Raider IP, the intellectual property. Same thing with God of War, trying to do some video game adaptions of their own. I'm sure there's plenty of other announcements that we've pointed out. I mean, Amazon taking a big swing on their Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power stuff also. But Amazon is not done. They're not done. This comes to us from Deadline.com. Oops, where'd it go? Come back. No. Did I lose it? There we go. This comes to us from Deadline.com. Robocop, Stargate, Legally Blonde, and Barbershop among titles in the works for film and TV as Amazon looks to supercharge their MGM IP. I honestly forgot that they even purchased or acquired the MGM sort of IP, but they're definitely going to be utilizing it here. It says exclusive MGM's extensive film and TV catalog built over the past century was the main driver behind Amazon's $8.5 billion acquisition of the storied Hollywood studio. For the past year, since the deal closed in March of last year, Amazon Studios has been sifting through MGM's library, identifying about a dozen initial titles for film and TV development, including Robocop, Stargate, Legally Blonde, Fame, Barbershop, The Magnificent Seven, Pink Panther, and The Thomas Crown Affair. We hear A-list creative auspices have reached out to inquire about adapting MGM IP, which they are fans of. That sounds awesome. That people are like A-list creatives are already hyped about this particular purchase for Amazon and are ready to go ahead and work with them on some projects. It does say that Amazon Studios has also been leaning on its own roster of talent for some projects. Each title is being approached differently. Some are being steered towards film, some towards TV, and some big ones are getting both movie and TV treatment. For instance, Amazon Studios is actively in early conversations on Legally Blonde, both for a movie and a TV series, sources said. They already had been on and off efforts to get a third Legally Blonde movie off the ground for the past 5 years. Similar plans for Stargate. We hear both film and TV installments are considered, with the movie likely going first. Robocop is also being talked about for both film and TV, with the TV show possibly first. And then you say the actively developing TV series on Fame, Barbershop, and The Magnificent Seven. As far as Thomas Crown Affair, there is talks about a movie along with the a Pink Panther movie, a Pink Panther movie, which could be animated. There's also a Poltergeist project as a possibility somewhere down the road. Deadline already revealed plans for the Creed universe spanning film and TV. That was the other one that we had just recently talked about, was the Creed universe over on Amazon. There are currently no plans for other James Bond series beyond the unscripted competition series announced shortly after Amazon's acquisition of MGM closed, as the franchise producers are focused on figuring out the next film installment. So James Bond is very much focused on the movies as of right now. But look, man, I love this news. I truly do. Coming from a kid that grew up in the 80s, the first and second RoboCops movies for me were like incredible. I used to love absolutely watching them as a kid. So any more RoboCop, I would be completely on board for. They did just recently have a RoboCop movie, maybe what within the last 10 years, maybe? Yeah, 2014. Oh my God, that's almost 10 years ago as of right now, about 9 years ago. We did have ourselves a RoboCop movie. I didn't mind that film. It was okay, I guess. I didn't, was that Joel Kinnaman who played RoboCop? But maybe it was just the nostalgia factor for me that made me enjoy it a little bit more than I probably should have. But I can understand why we never got a sequel. They didn't really do anything with it. It was just okay. Just definitely didn't live up to the past RoboCops for me at all. But look, the fact that we Amazon is getting a hold of it, I think the idea of film and TV with the possibility of film or TV coming first, whatever direction they go, I love the idea. RoboCop has my attention. Barbershop probably also has my attention a little bit, also in the sense of television. But for me, Stargate, baby, all day. Stargate all day. I grew up a big fan of Stargate. Love the movie, first off. That is definitely a movie I feel like I can put on and enjoy each and every time that I certainly watch it. But I watched all the Stargate series, honestly. The first Stargate series, SG1 was fantastic. I loved me some Stargate Atlantis. That's when I really first discovered Jason Momoa. My girlfriend had not my girlfriend, my mom. My mom had like the biggest crush on Jason Momoa ever since Stargate Atlantis. So that was always pretty fun for me. Um, and Stargate Universe was pretty odd in its own sense, where I think it was like a ship that had a Stargate on it, but like I think they were trapped on the ship, if I'm not mistaken. It was super short lived, and I really wanted more of it, but yeah, man. Richard Dean Anderson from SG1 was always my favorite. I grew up a MacGyver guy. So wherever Richard Dean Anderson went, I followed. So I was always a big fan of both of them. And so, yeah, man, SG1, Atlantis, Universe. I sat down and I ate it all. And I've been asking myself for years, when are we going to get more Stargate? There's got to be some level of like, demand for it certainly out there. I want to kind of get back into those sci-fi adventures, if you will, and I think Stargate would certainly bring something like that. It did say here just recently there was a web series called Stargate Origins. I do recall hearing that back in 2018. I don't know how many episodes it had, but it was a web mini series. Didn't get the chance to check it out for myself, but maybe I'll go ahead and look it up. But I think that was the most recent thing that we wind up having. It looks like for the most part there was a significant gap in time for any Stargate property. Stargate Universe ended in 2011, and the next thing that we wind up getting was Stargate Origins in 2018. But after that, absolutely nothing. So RoboCop, Stargate, and Barbershop on this list definitely has my attention. And so, yeah, give it to me, Amazon. I continue to really appreciate the acquisitions that they continue to make, man. I mean, you want to talk about like the big three when it comes to streaming services? Amazon's got to be up there in regards to like quality content that you can count on and go back and enjoy. I mean, top four, I gotta think is like Netflix, Disney, HBO Max, and Amazon. But maybe I'm tripping, guys. What are your top three streaming services that you're currently using right now? Definitely go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts down below. You know what? Who else we got here? What's up, Ram Jam? Good to see you, buddy. Marcelino says, "Will RoboCop finally get a good movie or show that has the same flair and writing that makes it feel like the first RoboCop film?" I don't know, man. It's really hard to recapture that. Will it get a worthy revival? We'll just wait and see. Yeah, I am curious. I thought the 2014 RoboCop was going to be a good revival, but unfortunately, it just kind of didn't do too much. So I'm kind of hoping they somehow managed to find that magic again for a good RoboCop movie. And look, in the day of AI that we're kind of living in these days, there might be a story there. You know what I mean? There might be a story there to go ahead and create a RoboCop, if you will. What else we got for you? Oh, you know what? We got to talk about one of the biggest things of news, and this one might go on for a while for you guys because this one article that we're about to get into will literally cascade into a bunch of other announcements for you guys. Real quick though, Ram Jam says the original RoboCop will be my favorite for me. Yeah, man, there's something about like that factory battle towards the end. When you got Murphy, he's got like his half his helmet off now, I think, right? And his partner are trying to take out like the gang and the squad. I just remember I remember the toxic bath that some of these dudes took, and like the prosthetics and the the practical effects and just the design of like their faces drooping and melting. I mean, it was look, the 80s had some horrific and like really graphic shit if you were a kid. I don't even remember what RoboCop was rated. It might have been rated like PG or some crazy shit like that, but had so much crazy violence. I don't know. It might have been a rated R film. It was kind of graphic, honestly, even though I watched it as a kid. And I just remember also this guy taking like it wasn't a javelin. I think it was like a rusty pipe and like just streak like stuck in it right into the middle of RoboCop's chest, sort of thing. Just unbelievable stuff, man. I absolutely loved RoboCop. He always had this really cool ways too of like utilizing uh I remember he like used his gun to like ricochet off of the wall and like hit the person he was trying to aim. They might have had somebody like as a hostage, like, oh, I'll blow her brains out, man. I'll blow her brains out. And Robocop like just turns his gun to the side and it like ricochets off the wall and hits homeboy. And I mean, really cool stuff growing up as a kid. I absolutely loved it. But yeah, Ram Jam says it was brutal. It was definitely rated R. Yeah, RoboCop was definitely rated R. After I said PG, I was like, no way, it had to be rated R. It was pretty graphic. It was pretty graphic. So we'll see. We'll see what Amazon can certainly do. But again, acquiring amazing IP to certainly go ahead and create hopefully some amazing hits. But let's talk about our next hit, or at least something that Warner Brothers Discovery is hoping certainly turns into a hit. Because as you guys know, Disney Discovery Plus, along with Warner Brothers, have in fact merged. We have ourselves the brand new CEO and David Zaslav. And one of the things that we've been waiting for quite some time is the merger between both of these streaming services, where you've got Discovery Plus and HBO Max becoming one thing. And it seems as though now David Zaslav has figured it out. As this past week, we wind up not only getting ourselves an announcement, but we got ourselves a launch date, new programs, pricing, everything that you guys need to know about what's happening with this new streaming service, especially the title. So let's go ahead and dive into this, shall we? This comes to us from deadline.com. And I'm sorry, guys, if you hear dogs barking in the background, our next door neighbor has picked up two strays and literally just has them in literally just has them in the backyard tied up, and they bark day all day long. So I do apologize about that, guys. So let's go ahead and dive into this article. Max launch date. So, guys, first and foremost, can we just say this? Warner Brothers Discovery, they've come up with a brand new name for HBO Max's service. It's no longer going to be called HBO Max, just Max. In fact, let me see if I can find let me see if I can find me a I want do they have a wallpaper yet? HBO Max wallpaper. Let's see if they have like an actual Max photo to kind of see like what the new logo certainly looks like. Warner Bros. Discovery Max. You have anything here? I don't have a photo for it, but I'll try and find it for you guys later. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this, shall we? Because there are some big changes. So it's called Max. They've taken the HBO out. It says, "This is our time. This is our chance." David Zaslav said today in his live stream intro of the company's unveiling of Max. It's rebranded streaming service that goes live May 23rd. This is our rendezvous with destiny. It says Max will be the streaming destination for Max and HBO originals. I don't know what the difference is. Warner Brothers films, the DC Universe, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and kids content, along with programming across food, home, reality, lifestyle, and documentaries from leading brands including HDTV, Food Network, Discovery Channel, TLC, ID, and more. So they're really bringing everything under this one particular umbrella called Max. And they did discuss brand new programming. It says, calling Warner Brothers Discovery the greatest storytelling company on earth and the biggest and most successful creator of content. It says, Max is home to shows that have a supersized effect on people and culture, singling out Last of Us, The White Lotus, Succession, and Euphoria, billing Max as the one to watch for every mood and every moment is its tagline. If you guys are interested, the service has 3-tier pricings officially. 99 a month or $100 a year for ad supported. That's an ad supported tier. So $99 a month gets you ads. No ads, you have $15.99 a month or $150 a year. So without ads, $15 or $15.99 a month, which offers 2 concurrent streams also. And last but not least, for $19.99 a month, you get Max Ultimate, which is a Max Ultimate ad-free, but also up to 4 concurrent streams. I'm assuming the concurrent streams means like 4 people can watch it at same time compared to the $15.99 where it's only 2 concurrent streams, like only 2 people can be watching the service at one time. So it'll be interesting. $9.99 a month for ad supported. That's called Max Ad Lite. $15.99 for Max Ad Free, or $19.99 a month for the Max Ultimate Ad Free. It says this new brand signals an important change from 2 narrower products, HBO Max and Discovery Plus, to our broader content offering and consumer proposition. So they did have some highlights, okay? Some programming highlights that I think alone are certainly worthy of talking about. So I'm going to close this down here. And first up, let me go ahead and see if I can bring did I pull that story up here? Because we got multiple different programs that they have announced. I was really surprised on this day because it wasn't just the Max announcement. It was like also, hey guys, look at all the other cool shit we're doing here to bring in this Max and just everything that they're doing. So the first announcement that they wind up having was in fact returning to the world of good old Harry Potter. That's right, baby. Harry Potter is coming back. A Max original Harry Potter television series, a faithful adaptation of the beloved original books. So let's go ahead and clarify this for you. So it's a TV series is officially happening at Max. It says it's official. Harry Potter TV series is coming to the streaming service formerly known as HBO Max. Here's how the series is described by Max. So they describe it as the stories from each of J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter books will become a decade-long series, Produced with the same epic craft, love, and care this global franchise is known for, the series will feature a new cast to lead a new generation of fandom full of the fantastic detail, much loved characters, and dramatic locations that Harry Potter fans have loved for 25 years. Each season will be authentic to the original books and bring Harry Potter and these incredible adventures to new audiences around the world, while the original classic and beloved films will remain at the core of the franchise and available to watch globally. It says, we're delighted to give audiences the opportunity to discover Hogwarts in a whole new way. Harry Potter is a cultural phenomenon, and it is clear that there is such an endearing love and thirst for the wizarding world. In partnership with Warner Brothers and J.K. Rowling, this new Max original series will dive deep into each of the iconic books that fans have continued to enjoy for all of these years. J.K. Rowling's even said, Max's commitment to preserving the integrity of my books is important to me, and I'm looking forward to being a part of this new adaptation, which will allow for a degree of depth and detail only afforded by a long-form television series. David Zaslav has definitely talked very openly about wanting. Standing ovation. David Zaslav has talked very openly about wanting to go ahead and do a live Harry Potter television series, and his importance of bringing J.K. Rowling's sort of into the fold. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you when it comes to this particular story. I see a need for it, and at the same time, I don't. Okay. The need for it, I would say, is simply the idea of I've heard complaints, and I've heard complaints from Harry Potter fans that who love the books, enjoy the movie, but have maybe complained at the idea that the movies themselves have just sort of overlooked or not referenced certain things that happen in the books onto the big screen. I mean, look, that's the trouble of adapting something, right? When you have a novel that's so many pages, especially as these Harry Potter books get thicker and thicker and thicker, it makes it harder to fully adapt everything from a book onto the big screen. But if you ask me, I think the Harry Potter films have done a pretty good job in regards to what they can do, and I can honestly say the Harry Potter films will continue to stick around regardless of what they do television wise here, to be sort of the Harry Potter things to look out for. So when I hear the idea of a television series, this feels very much like appeasing those fans that really want the book itself to be more purely adapted. And so that's what it definitely feels like, is that they're going to have themselves a lengthy amount of episodes, enough time to go ahead and tell each book per season, if you will, and allow it to really get into even maybe more details that something like the movie itself certainly couldn't have done. So it is interesting, because it is one of those things where I personally have always wanted a Harry Potter television series. This is not what I had in mind. I was always under the impression that we would maybe eventually follow Harry Potter after those particular films. But instead, they are going back in time and really just retelling the stories that we've seen so far in the movies, just much more long form, not really missing out on the details. And so I do think in some regards that'll definitely make some Harry Potter fans very happy, and maybe some Harry Potter fans rolling their eyes in the sense like we already got our Harry Potter movies. We don't need these television series. But I do think that there are some fans that certainly would really appreciate a television series. What I also find very fascinating too is the idea that it's going to be a new cast. How are people going to receive the idea that it's not Daniel Radcliffe or Emma Watson, right? I can never Rupert, I can't remember the other guy's name that plays Ron. I'm sorry, Ron. I'm sorry. He always gets shafted in some way or another. But I am curious, are we ready for a new Ron, Hermione, and Harry? That I think is going to be the test. I am kind of curious to see who's going to be cast. So that's really what it comes down to. Is there going to be an appetite for this? I do think there's going to be a market, because Harry Potter fans love Harry Potter. So people will come out and watch it. I am just kind of curious as to how popular it will be. And the idea of doing a decade-long run Is that something that's already given? If the first season flops and nobody watches, are we still gonna get 9 other seasons even though people aren't necessarily asking for this? So I am kind of curious. I am kind of curious. I appreciate Warner Brothers' devotion to it. They wanted more. There are times when this feels maybe a little bit too um milking the franchise, if you will, trying to create. It's like maybe J.K. Rowling just does not want to create brand new stories past what she's already written. And so maybe this is what they settled on or came up with in the sense of like, well, we do want more Harry Potter IP because it is a great money grab. But also, if you're not going to make new content, what do we do? And so it seems as though maybe this is what they decided to land on. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. This could work or it could not work. What's up, Marcelino? He says, well, we'll either get a good adaptation in TV format with material that couldn't be shown in the movies, or we'll get a Witcher scenario where they completely deviate from the books and create their own story. I think it's going to be adapted. And the only reason why I say it's going to be directly from the books is J.K. Rowling's is involved. If she wasn't involved, then I think then maybe we might have that situation. But I do think if there's anybody that wants to be as true to what she's certainly written, it's definitely J.K. Rowling. So I do expect them to go more along that route. So look, guys, if you like the Harry Potter movies, but you maybe like the books better, maybe this is something that's right up your alley in the sense of having them do a 10-year long Harry Potter series run as they break down each season per book. So that's just the first announcement that Max gave for their upcoming streaming service. They also announced an original comedy series derived from The Big Bang Theory. So maybe we're getting ourselves a little bit of a spinoff there. And also, we actually wind up getting a Game of Thrones announcement. That's right, an HBO original Game of Thrones prequel was officially greenlit. That's right. Not only did we get Game of Thrones, we're also now getting House of the Dragon. But on top of that, we got another one to certainly enjoy, baby. Let's go ahead and pull this up here for you guys. This one comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. And our next spinoff is going to be called, I should say, it says Game of Thrones Dunk and Egg prequel officially ordered. We have been talking about the long list of Game of Thrones spinoffs that were in development, or at least very much in early development. And, we've always talked about the idea that they not all of these spin-offs are going to be green lit, right? There's only going to be about a handful or so, maybe 2 or 3 that actually we get the opportunity to see the light of day. I mean, who knows? Maybe these all do so incredibly well that they just keep dishing them out. But House of the Dragon is here, and now Game of Thrones Dunk and Egg prequel is here also. It says the Game of Thrones empire is expanding once again. The new streaming service, now called Max, has officially ordered to series a new prequel. So it's not called Dunk and Egg. It's officially going to be called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight. It says the title is based on George R.R. Martin's popular trio of Dunk and Egg novellas, which chronicle the story of Dunk, the future Lord Commander of the King's Guard, Sir Duncan the Tall, and Egg, the future King Aegon the Fifth Targaryen, as they wander Westeros, having adventures roughly 100 years before the events of the novels. The project is the second prequel to officially get ordered to series following the House of the Dragon. The description, it says, a century before the events of Game of Thrones, 2 unlikely heroes wandered Westeros. A young, naive, but courageous knight, Sir Duncan the Tall, and his diminutive squire, Egg. Set in an age where the Targaryen line still holds the Iron Throne, and the memory of the last dragon has yet passed from living memory, great destinies, powerful foes, and dangerous exploits all await these improbable, incomparable friends. George R. Martin himself will be writing on the show, with the author billed as an executive producer and writer alongside Dragon. Ira Parker, The House of the Dragon showrunner, Ryan Caldwell, will also executive produce. It says the project represents a different kind of Westeros tale than Thrones or Dragon. The other shows are sweeping war epics with sprawling ensemble casts that take place in multiple locations. Whereas here, for the Duncan Egg stories, are more intimate two-handers with a bit of a lighter tone. The title has suggested another series in the wolf and cub genre of a protector and a ward wandering a dangerous landscape in the wake of HBO's success of things like The Last of Us and Mandalorian. So it'll kind of take that type of tone. It says the Hedge Knight project was one of the several put into development in hopes of adding to the company's past Game of Thrones arsenal. So yeah, man, we got more Game of Thrones on the way. I think if anything for me in this one, um, I am fascinated by the idea of George R. R. Martin being involved as much as he is, especially in the sense of especially in the sense of being like the writer for the show. Look, George R. R. Martin has got so many things to write and catch up to. Like Homeboy has not even finished his other novel yet. Like people were literally waiting for this man to go ahead and finish this series of his. And each and every year, he comes up with an announcement. Oh, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Bitch, you ain't working on nothing. You ain't working on nothing anymore. George R. R. Martin has officially given up finishing off his novel. It's never going to happen. I personally don't think. Instead, his time is going to be made in helping HBO not only kick off these series, but also write as well and bring in some amazing paychecks. Okay. Because I'm pretty sure George R. R. Martin's probably getting paid a ton from HBO instead of having to finish off a novel. So I don't expect George R. R. Martin to finish that novel anytime soon, as he's very much involved with HBO creating these spin-offs. But look, I appreciate the idea of them clarifying the differences between this prequel and the other Game of Thrones things. The idea of this being a little bit of a lighter tone compared to the sprawling war epics. Now, I think a lot of us love the sprawling war epic, and so it'll be really fascinating to kind of see how people, with the new direction that this prequel series is going to take, are we going to come back for more? Are we going to be just as attached to this series as we have been for the other two sprawling war epics of Game of Thrones books? And so the idea of them changing it up, which I appreciate them changing it up, but you've got such a big franchise, so many grand novels to go ahead and certainly adapt. The idea of giving us something a little bit different in this world, I do think certainly does go a long way. So I will be fascinated to see how people react to a Game of Thrones series that may not necessarily be like what we've certainly have had before, but this continues to grow. I hope that we also eventually get something like the Jon Snow series that they had talked about. I know Kit Harington has talked about just how involved that he is with trying to certainly bring that to light. If there is any other spinoff that I think that we might get, I'm hoping that it is in fact the Jon Snow stuff, who's also working very close with George R. R. Martin to try and bring that to light here. So I honestly expect, outside of this Duncan Egg adaptation, I highly do expect us to at least get one or two more prequels here within the next year or two. So Game of Thrones spinoff, baby, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, a Hedge Knight, being written by George R. R. Martin. We've got ourselves another Game of Thrones project. So what? That's like just the third announcement from the new Max series. What's the next one here? Before I get to the next, you know what? I'm gonna roll with this, and then I'll get into your guys's topic, your guys's comments. Let me see here. What was the next announcement? Oh, let me see. Can I find this one real quick for you guys? Because I thought this was pretty interesting. Also coming to us from the Hollywood Reporter, the other brand new program that Max did go ahead and talk about. They officially announced a Conjuring television series. That's right, a Conjuring TV series currently in the works over at Max as well. Now, look, you guys have known when it comes to the Conjuring movies, I was a really big fan of the first one. The second one was pretty good. Also, really helped create some great spin-offs, whether that be like The Nun, Was Irona. I can't roll my R's. I'm so sorry. And what was the other one with the doll? I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank right now off the top of my head. So The Conjuring has gave us some great content to certainly enjoy. I didn't really care too much about the third one. It was just okay to me. So I have been a little bit hesitant to kind of see where they take The Conjuring in the fourth film. But it seems as though when it comes to Warner Brothers Discovery, they want to go ahead and try and dive into a television series. So we got a series in development over at Max. It says is developing a TV series based on the horror franchise, which encompasses 8 movies so far. And again, they're talking about the spin-offs as well. It says the film series producer Peter Safran will executive produce. James Wan, who directed the first 2 Conjuring films, is also in talks to serve as an executive producer, but no writer is attached as of yet. No writer. No plot details are available at this moment. Max says only that the TV project will continue the story established in the feature films. So yeah, that's all we got right now. So look, I am curious, whether or not Ed and Lorraine Warren come back. For me, it'll be interesting to see, like, if they do a television series, does that mean somebody like a Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, will they continue their Ed and Lorraine Warren role in this particular television series? Is this series just going to completely follow another group of people? Annabelle, excuse me, that was the name of the other spin-off series from the Conjuring universe. So yeah, they got the Annabelle trilogy, The Nun, The Curse of La Llorona. So yeah, they got a bunch of movies within this particular franchise. So look, I will say this, I don't know how many Warren tales that they certainly have in order to go ahead and adapt to movies and things like that, or for television series. But considering my enjoyment of the franchise for the most part, look, give me some horror supernatural element any day in the form of a television series, and I'm usually there. So I will be fascinated to see where they get some of their content for this series, but still very much in early development. Shout out to Frankie, man. What's up, Frankie, for coming through to go ahead and support the channel in that way, man. Definitely get an opportunity to see what you got to talk about first here. It says, and think in terms of books or on-screen adaptations, Harry Potter has a near perfect course compared to the other unpopular library series. Not perfect, but still better than most. Yeah, no, I will agree. I think in regards to what they were able to do as far as adapting the books, I thought they did a remarkable job. But again, I'm sure there are going to be plenty of people who probably watched the movie and were kind of disappointed that it didn't hit all the notes that they certainly would have liked. Blossom with the super chat too. Thank you so much, especially for that super sticker. He says, I'm late, aren't I? No, you're perfectly always on time, Blossom. So thank you guys so much for your donations and helping out and supporting the channel in that way. What other announcements did they have from there? There were a couple other ones I'll let you guys check out. We did get first looks. The first looks that we did get the opportunity to check out that I want to talk about. There is a new True Detective series coming out. Can I pull this up here? Hold on a second. Let me see. Do I have the trailer for that? I don't honestly know if I have the trailer for it, but I'm going to, here we go. I'm going to pull this up on my Facebook page. May not be able to see it fully, but it is playing kind of in the background a little bit. True Detective season 4 is happening. Jodie Foster, if I'm not mistaken, is in fact the lead here. I love Jodie Foster. I think she's absolutely incredible as an actress. And the fact that this is going to be taking place in Alaska during the time period when the sun is like set for like days on end, sort of thing. I love this idea. I mean, you want to talk about establishing a tone and a vibe for True Detective it's like it's perfect if you ask me. It's very much perfect. And I've been a big fan of the first season. I was a big fan of the third season with Mahershala Ali, and now having Jodie Foster in here, who's more than a formidable actress in her own right, to go ahead and have an Alaskan murder mystery. Yes, please count me in on that. So. I'm not exactly sure when it launches, but they did give us an HBO original limited series, True Detective, titled Night Country. You got Jodie Foster along with Carly Rice, who will in fact be in this particular season. So, yeah, there you go. Looking forward to it, man. True Detective. I've been waiting for it. Outside of that, our last announcement that they gave to us, or at least first look, I should say, comes to us from the Penguin. Now, look, I have been really looking forward to the Penguin. Colin Farrell, I thought, did a remarkable job in the Batman movie as the Penguin, but this is really our first time getting the opportunity to see footage from it. You clearly get the opportunity to see like the aftermath of what has happened to Gotham, and it's got a great narration also from Colin Farrell as the Penguin, as he's really trying to become the new king of Gotham. Now that the mob boss that was killed at the end of the Batman is in fact gone, you do have yourself a power struggle that's definitely happening now in Gotham. And I mean, you want to talk about dark, gritty sort of mobster series. I get all the vibes from that in here also. I don't think they're going to be pulling any punches whatsoever. This feels very like Sopranos to me in the Batman world. And when you put those two together, I think you got magic and certainly something special on your hands. The makeup job that happens for Colin Farrell in here, I think, is incredible. I can start seeing him a little bit like in a shot like this. I can kind of see his face a little bit underneath all of that makeup. But I do think that he is perfect for this role. He even got the little penguin waddle going after what happened to him in the Batman movie. So definitely carrying those connective threads over from the movies to television series. And this is coming from Matt Reeves himself. And I also love this shot towards the end of the trailer of the penguin literally like just gunning somebody down in cold blood and then laughing about it in just a really creepy way. And so I'm really excited to kind of see what Colin Farrell certainly brings to this role. I'm already predicting an Emmy nomination in some capacity for this particular series. So yeah, man, bring it on. It is odd to see the Max logo there, but I am glad that they at least kept the HBO circle, like the font, if you will, for the O, and kind of like placed it within the A. So unless it's always been like that, I don't think it was always like that, but it's kind of cool. But I will say this, man, if there is something that just kind of scratches my head, going back to the idea of this HBO Max um, presentation. The only thing that really confuses me here and makes me wonder is why they didn't keep the HBO name to some capacity. Um, HBO has just been known for just incredible content for so many years. I mean, you want to talk about a name that literally holds recognition, that it's like, oh my God, an HBO original series, that the quality and attention to detail is going to be there, right? I mean, HBO for years has had just a lineup of just so many incredible shows. I remember growing up as a kid, one of the shows I probably shouldn't have watched, but I did watch back in the day was what was it? Oz, I believe, was like Oz. I think it was like a prison series. I loved it growing up, and I probably shouldn't have been watching it at the time. Chernobyl, I was a big fan of Chernobyl. I mean, the list goes on and on. Sex in the City, I think, was HBO. It's just HBO just has a powerful name to it, and to be able to just completely eliminate that stuff, and just calling it Max, I think it's going to have some people asking some questions, or wondering um, where their HBO stuff is. I mean, when I think of Max, I for some reason the first thing that comes to my mind is Cinemax, and I'm like, okay, there's a reason probably why Cinemax certainly is not around, but it just makes me feel like HBO's title is such a heavyweight in the world right now when it comes to creating remarkable products and content. That to strip that away feels like you're really just losing the history, if you will, along with the accolades that come with the HBO moniker. So it feels a little bit weird to me. A little bit weird to me. It's definitely going to take me some use getting used to. I thought HBO Max was a great name, or at least it certainly grew on me. So I kind of wish that they would have just kept it that way. But to each their own. To each their own. But let me know your guys' thoughts. How do you guys feel about the changes that are happening here for the streaming service? Again, the article does mention, and I will go ahead and let me enlarge this for you guys. So it does mention May 23rd it goes live. So it will be going from HBO Max to just titled Max, beginning May 23rd, along with the new tiers for payment. So definitely go ahead and check that out whenever you get a chance. Let me jump over to some of your comments. Let me see what some of you guys are saying today, because we did get somebody else in the chat with us that I wanted to highlight. He's got a few things in here, so I'll try and bring them all up real quick. We got the Geek Ledger. What's up, Geek? Certainly good to see you. I'm pretty sure it'll be faithful to the books. JK is involved. Yeah, I think it's going to be. I'm in agreement with you too. I think it's be very faithful to the books. I'm hyped for this because I love the movies, but they were not good adaptations after the second movie. They felt companion pieces to the books. Interesting. So see, and that's what I mentioned. Like, while for me, I'm a big fan of the movies. They definitely fill that appetite for me in that void of the books. But again, and one of the things I always said is that I'm sure people that did read the books, one of their complaints was they probably wanted it to be more true to the books than what they did. So you definitely fit that category, Geek. So this definitely looks like it's something that's made specifically for you. Also, David Zaslav has clarified that the decade quote includes pre-production and production time. There will be one season per book, 7 books total. Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. Because I was like, man, how are they going to do like Deathly Hollows? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'll be interested to see how they pull that off. But thank you for clarifying that. He also stated that since the streaming rights to the Harry Potter IP are in limbo because NBC, Universal, and Warner Bros. Discoveries will not air until 2026. Well, I think that's a perfect amount of time for them to really get all their ducks in the row. Let's see here. What else are you guys saying in here? Geek Ledger, he says, I hope it's high budget anthology series. Call it the Conjurings. Have each episode be separate story involving a new haunting, and each episode is bookend by the movie. Couple taking an artifact. Ooh, I kind of dig that. Geek Ledger. I kind of dig that. Blossom says, power struggles. Holy macaroni. Are all the Batman villains mentally disturbed? Yes. A lot of them probably come out of Arkham Asylum. So, yes. Good old Gotham. Wouldn't you want to live there? Geek Ledger, hot take. The Max rebranding was severely needed because not everything the streaming services will put out will be HBO quality. They don't want to dilute the brand. Also, not every parent wants to subscribe to a service with HBO in the name. It'll definitely open up to families, more conservative people to sign up. I mean, I guess in that regards, I mean, I always already felt like there was just already way too many HBO things out there. So the idea of just keeping HBO Max as HBO Max, I think would have been fine for me. But you're right. There are a lot of HBO's stuff that's already kind of out there. So that might be some of their thinking also. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out, man. We'll see how it turns out. I really appreciate my HBO Max. I think they have some really great content on there. So it's definitely one of those things that I've enjoyed checking out for sure. But we'll see how Max goes. Again, it'll be here May 23rd. I'm trying to see if there's any other details. What else we got going here this week that I found pretty interesting? Let's get into some Marvel talk here real quick because we did get ourselves a brand new casting announcement. For those of you who don't know, the Blade movie is either currently in development or it's right around the corner. But Mia Goth, the name might sound familiar to some of you if you enjoy yourself a good horror film. There have been 2 horror movies as of late, one called X, and then another film, its prequel called Pearl. That is in fact starring Mia Goth. She's kind of taken the horror world by storm, if you will. And so the idea of attaching her to Blade feels very much right up her alley, if you ask me. So let's get into this article. This is from Deadline. Mia Goth joins Mahershala Ali in a Marvel picture. It says, after spending the past year terrifying audiences and wowing critics, Pearl and X star Mia Goth looks ready to take her talents to the MCU. As sources tell Deadline, she is set to join Mahershala Ali in Marvel Studios' Blade. Jan Demange is set to direct the pick with Michael Starbury on board to write the script. It says Marvel could not be reached for comment. Plot details are unknown at this time, as well as who Goth could be playing. Plans for a new incarnation of the Blade character was revealed during that. Okay, yada, yada, yada. I'm trying to see if they're going to talk a little bit about Goth here. Goth is coming off a stellar year that started with A24's horror pick X, with the sequel Pearl premiering a few months later. Goth stars in both, but is front and center in Pearl, where she gave a stellar performance that award pundits began discussing a potential Best Actress candidate. Oh, that's interesting. I did see X. I have not had the opportunity to see Pearl yet, but it is on my list for sure. People are suggesting that she might be playing Lilith in this movie. Lilith in the comic books, I believe, is the daughter of Dracula, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I have that right. Marvel Comics Lilith. Yeah, I believe in the comic she is the daughter of Dracula. So whether or not they stay true to that in the movie itself, we'll definitely see. But I think she can easily pull off that role if she certainly wanted to. So shout out to Mia Goth, man, for landing that role here. What else do we have here? Oh, this one might be fun for you guys. We'll stick with the MCU stuff real quick. Deadpool 3 is back in the news. We got more casting announcements. Marina Bakarin and Stefan Kapicic, Kapicic, I can't pronounce his name, sorry, to return for Deadpool 3 as Vanessa and Colossus. I was wondering if Vanessa was going to come back or not. Ryan Reynolds is looking to get the gang back together for Marvel's new Deadpool sequel, as Marina Bakarin and Stephen, are set to reprise their roles as Vanessa and Colossus. They join Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and the newest additions, Emma Corrin and Matthew McFadden. We got Sean Levy set to go ahead and direct. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that they're going to be back, especially Colossus. This is also coming from a guy, though, that unfortunately did not watch Deadpool 2. And so, I don't even know what happened to Vanessa and Colossus by the end of that movie. So, hey, I'm glad that they're coming back. It would probably feel weird if they were not in this movie, to be honest with you. We got any other newsworthy topics to discuss? Let's see. What else we got? What happened here this week? Oh, here we go. More casting for Lilo and Stitch. Disney's live action Lilo and Stitch finds its NANI, Lilo's sister. Looks like newcomer Maya Kealoha is playing Lilo, while Zach Galifianakis also joined the cast back in February. But this right here, this is Sydney Agudong. Sydney Agudong, who will be playing NANI in Lilo and Stitch. It does say that Disney declined to comment. Yeah, looks like they're going to be releasing this on Disney Plus, which is still a head scratcher to me. It says Stitch naturally will be a CGI confection. That's interesting. I was kind of hoping it would be maybe a mixture of CGI and practical. Maybe they'll make some practical Stitches though. But yeah, it is intended to be a major release on Disney Plus. The Hawaii-centric story tells of the bond formed between a lonely human girl named Lilo and the dog-like alien named Stitch, who was genetically engineered to be a force of destruction. So yeah, they're definitely putting that together. Agudong's previous credits include NCIS, Infamously in Love, On My Block, and the feature film West Michigan. She just wrapped her latest project as the lead role in an independent feature, At Your Feet. She was born and raised on the island of Kauai. Nope, I'm not even going to try it. In Hawaii. Her younger sister is known for her roles in Nickelodeon series Star Falls and films Alex and Me and the Disney Channel's original movie Upside Down Magic, as well as Netflix adaptation of Resident Evil. So Agudon's sister, Sienna Agudon, has been in other stuff also. So yeah, looks like she got the role. This was always a great movie for me. I always really enjoyed Lilo and Stitch, so the idea of that coming to life sounds like it's pretty fun. The Geek Lantern says, did y'all talk about the new Big Bang Theory spinoff that's coming to Max? It's supposed to be either another show about one of the TBBT characters growing up or a sequel following one of the couples. I briefly commented on it, but I didn't know too many details in regards to it, Geek Ledger, so I didn't discuss it as much as we probably could have. What else we got? All right, I think I got maybe one more article for you guys. You know what? Let's just do two more real quick. Variety. This comes to us from Variety. I wanted to highlight Super Mario for you guys. I still have not had the opportunity to check out the movies in a couple of months to go ahead and check this out. But Super Mario Brothers apparently has passed $500 million globally, becomes the biggest video game adaptation ever. Incredible news, man. I definitely felt the positive momentum for Super Mario Brothers continue to grow after every trailer and after every clip that we wind up seeing. Outside of the initial outrage of Chris Pratt voicing Super Mario, I felt like once that noise started subsiding and people actually wind up getting their look at the series or at the movie itself in longer length trailers, people definitely started to become a little bit more on board with it. But this movie is racking up money at the box office, guys. So it passed $500 million globally. This movie might end up becoming $1 billion. And that's crazy to say, but this movie may end up reaching $1 billion, the rate that it's at. Says the video game adaptation has crossed $500 million mark at the global box office, shattering records with the gusto that its title character usually amasses via power-ups. That's a cool sentence. To date, the animated adventure has earned $260 million domestically and $248 million internationally. That's a great balance. That lifts its worldwide haul to 508. It is now the highest grossing film of 2023 at both the global and domestic box office, surpassing Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. More importantly, it makes Super Mario Brothers movie the biggest video game adaptation in history, topping the grosses of both Warcraft and Pokemon Detective Pikachu. And it's only been in theaters like 2 weeks? Literally like 2 weeks. Pretty spectacular stuff, if you ask me, man. And it says another notable milestone is the film is now the second biggest animated film since 2019 in worldwide box office terms, coming in ahead of Demon Slayer and behind Minions: The Rise of Gru at $942 million. But it says stay tuned for the inevitable announcement of a sequel or a spinoff. Yeah, I can definitely let the Super Mario universe begin, shall we? And that's all that they needed. This movie is making buku money. It would not surprise me. Look, I hope that they keep this movie in theaters, allow this movie to continue to milk it for all it's worth. And if this movie passes $900 million, and even was it the Pikachu movie that they talked about? Man, that would be something incredible. So I'm pushing for $1 billion for this movie, man. I truly am. I haven't had the opportunity to check it out. I don't know how people are receiving this movie. If you guys have had the opportunity to check out Super Mario, let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. But I am kind of curious how people are receiving this movie. I don't think it's rotten anywhere, but maybe I'm mistaken. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull this up here real quick. Super Mario. Let me just go to Rotten Tomatoes and see how it's being graded so far, because I really don't know how people are receiving the Super Mario movie. It looks hella fun to me, but I'm wondering if that's all that it is. Like, is it just fun and no story, or is there something actually there? Like for me, uh, okay, here we go. Super Mario. Oh, give me a second, guys. I think my computer just freeze on me, bro. Okay, here we go. Oh, it is rotten. Okay. So well, according to critics have Super Mario Brothers right now at 58%, whereas audiences have it like a 96. So people are loving it. Here's they have a critics consensus. While it's nowhere near as thrilling as Turtle tipping your way to 128 lives, Super Mario Brothers is a colorful, albeit thinly plotted, animated adventure that has about as many Nintendos as Nintendon'ts. What the fuck? Who wrote this critics consensus? This is terrible. So yeah, they've got it at 58%, while as the audience has it as 96, and that's after 10,000 plus ratings or reviews, man. So yeah, I guess if you're an audience member, you're gonna love this movie. So we'll see, man. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it or not. I haven't had the opportunity to check it out, but passing $500 million globally is no easy task. Congratulations to Mario for accomplishing that feat. I also found this story pretty interesting, that I wanted to bring up too, because you guys know we currently do review Gotham on the channel here. But this surprised me reading this article this week. This is from Comic Book Resources. Gotham Knights is a major HBO Max success. Let me give my thoughts before I even read this. I have become a fan of Gotham Knights. Um, it may not necessarily be everybody's cup of tea, but I went into the series with really low expectations. And what I found was a great mystery, some really strong characters, some pretty talented actors also. And they've done a pretty good job of building each episode so far, each season, to further pushing forward the plot and the details. This past week, I think Misha Collins as Harvey Dent had one of his best moments yet, if you ask me, out of this particular series. I've been waiting to really get something from him, but now that you're starting to see Harvey Dent questioning his own psyche, now things are getting juicy and even more interesting. He was like the missing piece to this Gotham Knights series. I was really enjoying um, the Court of Owls stuff, the character stuff. The first episode, I feel like I had to push my expectations to the side and be a little bit open minded, if you will, be um, um, very fair if I as much as I possibly could. So I definitely had my issues with certain aspects of some of the characters in the first episode, but a lot of those have significantly changed, and I've become kind of fans of some of these characters even more than I certainly was before. But I really appreciate the pacing, and it is one of those things too where it's like, even though we don't necessarily have a lot of costumed vigilantes in it, it definitely is focusing much more on the mystery, sort of what like Naomi kind of did. But what I feel like the differences is that they're actually pushing the plot and the mystery forward and giving us reveals and giving us information, if you will, each and every episode. You know what I mean? Whereas Naomi just felt like a drag, like I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen. But I think the pacing for this has been done really well and very smart to keep people in tuned, especially with the lack of costumed vigilantes. And I think they make up for that with not only the talent from the Court of Owls, but also a little bit of Carrie Kelly as Robin, as we do get the opportunity to see. And I think the fact that Turner Hayes is now getting more comfortable and very much channeling his inner Bruce Wayne, if you will, I think adds an interesting dynamic to the series also. So I it doesn't surprise me that it's become a major HBO Max success, but at the same time, it kind of does. I think like word of mouth is probably really helping this show out so far, and people these days I don't think are necessarily watching it live as it is. I think it takes them maybe a couple days to finally get a chance to check it out, but they're checking it out for sure. They may not be watching it on the CW, but they're watching it somewhere. And I think that means something. And there's a part of me that's kind of hoping that because of the success, that by the time we get to something like a season two, if we get a season two, that maybe they will move it over from something like a CW to a HBO Max if they feel it's been relatively successful or somewhat of a hit for them. But maybe the article will explain a little bit more. So I do want to dive into the article just a little bit more here and say it says while many fans may not have been initially sold on the idea of Gotham Knights, the show has seemingly found its audience via streaming. According to Flix Patrol, the CW's latest superhero drama is comfortably sitting at HBO Max's third most popular series, beating out only by HBO's Succession and Last of Us. That's crazy to me. Like, that's crazy to me. This placement also makes it one of four shows in the top 10 that aren't HBO or HBO Max originals. Gotham Knights' popularity surged comes amid the CW's downsizing, leading many fans of the studio to question the future of its stories. And that's really the question that I have is, are we going to get ourselves a season two? We'll see how season one ends, but I guess I will say this too. There's a part of me that before this season dropped, I thought this was going to be a Swamp Thing situation where it's like, hey, we released episode one of Swamp Thing, and then the next day, Swamp Thing's been canceled. Like, what? Like, what? So I honestly thought like after the first two or three episodes, I thought we would have gotten an announcement from Warner Brothers or CW for a cancellation of this series, but it hasn't happened yet. And so, one, I wonder, did they learn from their mistake of Swamp Thing and allowing this to kind of play itself out and see how people feel about the season before making an announcement and wait for that cancellation to come at the end? Or are they really seeing that, hey, maybe it's not necessarily doing as well as we would like for it to do on the CW, but look what it's doing on HBO Max. The only shows it's not beating out are Succession and The Last of Us. That's a pretty good competition, if you ask me, to have alongside a name like Gotham Knights. While Gotham Knights has found its fans, the show's initial announcements and reveal left many enthusiasts wanting. I would totally agree. I none of the trailers did anything for me. Set after the death of Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, the narrative follows his adoptive son, Turner Hayes, who has been framed for the Cape Crusaders' murder. The first trailer left many angry and frustrated as viewers criticized the quality, claiming the production value was evidence of the CW's cost-cutting measures. Despite this perception, early reviews were more mixed than many expected, as critics praised Gotham Knights' diverse cast of characters and compelling mystery running throughout the narrative. That's exactly how I feel. And then they talk a little bit about Misha Collins as one of its biggest selling points. And for me, again, episode 4 or 5 really just added more to it. So definitely giving me an opportunity to see what they have in store. It says while Collins is currently the only supernatural alum to star in Gotham Knights, that wasn't always the case. The actor noted that Jensen Ackles almost featured as Bruce Wayne, but the appearance ultimately never came to fruition due to clashing schedules. I don't know if I'm supposed to reveal this, but we tried to work it out to have Jensen play Batman on the show, which I think would have been freaking awesome because Jensen Ackles has been asking forever to try and be Bruce Wayne or Batman at some point in time. And unfortunately, that just was not able to happen. So, yeah, man, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with Gotham Knights. I can't lie. I don't think it hasn't blown me away, but I think going into it with such low levels of expectation, one allowed me to be a little bit more fair-minded in regards to how I viewed this season. And then after the first episode or two, I'm like, they really have something here. Like they really do have something pretty enjoyable that I find myself wanting to come back each and every week and see how this mystery and the story continues to unfold. And as it continues to unfold, just continuing to build great character chemistry. And hopefully we do get some costume vigilantes in some form or another by the end of this season. But Gotham Knights is finding its success somewhere, guys. Don't let anybody tell you any different. It's growing on me. It's definitely growing on me. And then last but not least, I'll end off with this last topic for you guys, and that is in fact the Acolyte, for my Star Wars fans, because we got to get in our Star Wars bag in some capacity or another. And then I'll get into your guys' comments and live viewer questions. But let's get into our Star Wars bag real quick as the Acolyte is in the news. For those of you who don't know, we just had ourselves a massive Star Wars celebration, 3 to 4 days of goodness for us Star Wars fans, if you ask me. If you missed it, we did do a day 1 and day 2 recap of Star Wars Celebration. We do have 2 videos up on our YouTube channel. If you want to go ahead and hear my thoughts on all the announcements that we wind up getting, definitely go ahead and check it out. But one of the panels that was highly talked about was the Acolyte, as it's still very much a mystery for a lot of us. But this past week, we wind up getting further details. And some of the cast, along with the showrunner, Leslie Headland herself, are coming out and doing some interviews and giving us a little bit further details in regards to this particular series. So let's go ahead and dive in here just a little bit. So this comes to us from the Acolyte, from Collider. It says the Acolyte won't be kind to the Jedi, says series showrunner. It says the Acolyte won't be kind to the Jedi, says the series showrunner. And I do want to preface this by saying this real quick. Okay. I don't necessarily know if I appreciate the way that the author of this article, Diego Peralta, put this. Some of his own commentary feels like it's trying to stir up something that isn't maybe quite there yet, or kind of stir up a particular demographic of the fandom. That I don't necessarily think what Leslie Headland is saying is what she's meaning to purposefully do, more than what I think the article is trying to purposefully do. And I'll explain that to you here. So let's dive into this, okay? And this is Leslie Headland, for those of you who don't know, the showrunner for the show. So it says, while plot details for the upcoming Star Wars television series, The Acolyte, are still being kept in the back to tank, the themes behind the show have recently been discussed at Celebration. In an interview, Steve Weintraub, the Collider's editor-in-chief, spoke with Leslie Headland about how the series set during the High Republic era compares to Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. While the two stories take place in different centuries, they might have more in common than expected, sharing a mutual questioning of the way that the Jedi operate. Here's what Headland had to say when it comes to the treatment of the Jedi in The Acolyte. She says, I think it's difficult to show. I think it's difficult to do a show that is critical in any way of the Jedi. And I think you saw that with Rian Johnson's film. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that especially in that moment, people were very nervous about saying this particular institution may not be the light and perfect, stunning group of heroes that are totally nobly intentioned. And one thing that I think Dave would say, I'm assuming she's talking about Dave Filoni, would say is that they are fallible. That's really the story that George told with the prequels, right? The fall of this particular group. And so the article says, during Johnson's 2017 blockbuster, the ways of the Jedi were questioned. While Luke Skywalker argued that they caused their own downfall when they were blinded by their pride, the idea was also explored throughout the prequel trilogy of the films, where the corruption of the Jedi Order didn't help when Anakin Skywalker was tempted by the dark side. If the Jedi had been keepers of the peace they claimed to be, they would have treated the troubled young man differently, and they would have noticed the powerful Sith Lord that had pretty much working had them pretty much working for him. While the thought process behind Luke's disappointment with the Jedi came before him served as a deep exploration of the character, it caused plenty of backlash online after the release of the movie, since that was the only way of the many divisive topics within Johnson's middle chapter. It also says here, but Kathleen Kennedy isn't afraid of any potential outrage concerning the plot of The Acolyte. During the interview, Hedlund also talked about the process of informing the executive about the themes behind this series would be explaining to her why why a story where the Jedi are not presented in a flattering light was necessary for the character's journey. But here's what the showrunner had to say when speaking about the studio's president's reaction to the pitch and any potential internet backlash. She says, when you when you think you're going to tell a story about the bad guys and the Jedis might be the antagonists to those Jedis, I think that makes people nervous. But it didn't make Kathy nervous. And I will say that in that room when I pitched her, it was probably one of the most exciting things because it felt like a conversation and less like I was up for a job. It was much more like, okay, but what are you going to do about this? And what are you going to do about that? And so I was able to fold in what I knew about Star Wars and what I love about Star Wars into what she's always pushing for, which is what's the emotional through line. And so I think that's important. Look, I will say this when it comes to the Acolyte, I'm very much looking forward to this. And I don't necessarily know if the online backlash came so much from the idea of, I mean, and maybe it did, the idea of the Jedi being perceived and showcased in one way, so much as I think people felt a type of way about having a character that they know and love, like Luke Skywalker, for their entirety of their life, being portrayed in the way that they themselves didn't expect and probably would not have portrayed him. So I think that's where the internet backlash comes from in regards to how Luke was showcased, not so much the Jedi Order, though, because I do feel like, well, again, this is just me as a Star Wars fan. I think that we have come to learn and sort of accept the fallibility of the Jedi. I think that's what makes their story so much more fascinating. And I think it's one of the reasons why people felt very divisive about The Last Jedi. Some people just clearly hating it. That it's one of those things where I think people will come around to it. Very much like the prequel trilogy, time heals all wounds. I do think that people will eventually go back and see the Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi and think to themselves, that's a pretty damn good movie. Not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination, because I did not like the Rose or the Finn storyline whatsoever. But when it comes to the Jedi and the Sith and what they established, I thought Rian Johnson did a remarkable job of making those connections to the prequels and just letting us know, hey, these Jedi are not perfect, and they probably caused sort of their own downfall. And so for me as a Star Wars fan, especially somebody that's in their officially in their 40s now, I don't mind seeing that other side of the coin. The fallibility of the Jedi sort of as the antagonist, because there's always two sides to every story. Am I right? And so the idea of being able to see how somebody maybe views the Jedi and utilizes their views and their perception to then turn to the dark side, I think is pretty important. And I think it's pretty interesting. For some reason, it just immediately brings up the battle between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin on Mustafar, where they're literally like in the river of lava and they're on they're on their little robots and stuff, and they're talking to each other, and it's like, trying to explain to each other their points of view about why the Jedi are good or why the Jedi are evil. And Obi-Wan's like, well, you are lost, right? Like, it's Anakin's perception of the Jedi very much feels like what this main character for the Acolyte is probably going to go through also, and a sense of seeing that other side of the Jedi. And Leslie Headland has the job now of portraying the Jedi, certainly in that light. So I don't think that's what people will push back against. I think people pushed back against The Last Jedi because they were like, what the did you do to Luke Skywalker? And while I think Ryan Johnson did the most perfect thing he could have done with Luke Skywalker, I truly have no problem with it. I thought it was bold. I thought it was unique. I thought it was daring. And I thought it really challenged the viewer to kind of look do things through a different lens for sure. And it for me, it just backs up who Luke Skywalker has been his whole entire life. And so I had no problem with what Ryan Johnson did. So I think people had an issue with that, not so much his perception of what the Jedi have sort of become. And so I think Leslie Headland is onto something, but I don't think she should be as nervous as I think. I think this show will get more shit from um crybaby misogynistic men than it will true Star Wars fans. And look, you may not like the show, and that's certainly more than fine. And just because you don't like the show doesn't mean you're misogynistic or anything like that, right? It doesn't mean you hate women. I'm not saying that, but let's be honest and real with ourselves, okay? There is maybe like a quarter percentage of the fandom that's super loud that will shit on this particular show, regardless. But I don't think it's the reason why Leslie Headland fears that it certainly might be. And I think I am curious to see what her storyline is going to certainly look like. Because honestly, the more I see of it, the more I hear of it, the more details that come out, I continue to get more and more sold, man. So I'm ready to go on this journey that is, in fact, her this new acolyte or this new Padawan that we have. And I don't necessarily think that it is who we're going to talk about next here. This was the Logan star, Daphne Keene. From Comic Book Resources, they did an interview. It says Logan Star trades claws for lightsabers in the Star Wars The Acolyte. So that's Daphne Keene right there. I thought she was great in Logan. You can also check her out in His Dark Materials, I think, over on HBO Max. But she also did an interview with Screen Rant, and she says, I can't say much. I can say that my character is an alien. She's pretty badass. She gets to play a bit with lightsabers, which was fun. She says it's just an honor to be a Jedi. The actor did not reveal her character's name or provide any hints as to who her character's storyline or arc is going to be. Oh yeah, they did an actual interview with her. She did state earlier a couple months ago, it's kind of an explanation of how the Sith infiltrated the Jedi. It's a Sith-led story, which has never been done before. It's been really fun to film. The cast is amazing, and the director and crew are just lovely. The whole experience is wonderful, and I'm really excited for people to see it. And yeah, for those that did get the opportunity to see first images over at Star Wars Celebration, definitely had a lot to be very happy about. So she will be playing a Jedi, whether or not, and she's an alien, whether or not she eventually herself takes a turn, who certainly knows. But I think it's the Amandla Stenberg character, who's the main character, that might be the one that's going against the Jedi in here. But it'll be interesting to kind of see how Daphne Keene plays into all this as a Jedi. And for me, as somebody that has read the High Republic novels for Star Wars, I am fascinated to see what the end of that particular era of the High Republic is going to be like. If I'm kind of curious if they will even introduce a character, the same character that Daphne Keene certainly might be playing in those books. That I certainly don't know, but I would be kind of curious to see just what the Jedi are looking like towards the tail end of that High Republic era, and if she's one of the few that unfortunately maybe get cut down from whoever this Sith that winds up sort of emerging. So I think this is a really cool and very pivotal time period for our Jedi. Finishing off the High Republic era, but I think maybe, like they said, like 100 years, I think, before the prequel trilogy, if I'm not mistaken, the Phantom Menace. So really great time period to kind of explore as everything really starts changing and shifting, and the Sith kind of eventually make their move. So yeah, man, everything that I've been seeing so far, I've been really big fans of. But let me know your guys' thoughts in regards to everything from the Acolyte that we've talked about. Let me go into these live chat real quick and see what you guys are talking about. Marcelino says, if we get a season 2, then I want it connected to Superman and Lois, like the rumors say. Gotham Knights and Superman. I hope not. I hope not. They just feel like two completely different series to me. But you never know, Marcelino. We'll see. You also saying, I'm glad Gotham Knights was better than expected, but I still choose Batwoman over Gotham Knights to continue the Arrowverse. Wonder how Indy feels now after watching it. Yeah, I would be kind of curious to know what Indy's thoughts are. Glad you're enjoying it, but it's still disappointing that you aren't negatively reviewing, because you had Indy review a Flash and he struggled through it. Look, man, you asked me to review Gotham Knights, because I was really down upon it. I did not care for it. And you said, Adam, I challenge you to take on this show. I took it on. And look, I can't help that the show has turned out to be better than it is. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. Just get me to review a show, and that show is guaranteed to be a hit. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. All right, guys. With that out of the way, we will wrap up with your live viewer questions. For those of you who want to know, how do I submit a live viewer question? It's simple, man. All you got to do, go over to our main YouTube page, our main channel. Let me go pull this up here. Your channel, A+ Hero Report, right here for you guys. Click on this community tab button right there. And usually any day after Wednesday or Thursday in the week, any day after Wednesday during the week, we will go ahead and post a live viewer question post just like this. And then you submit your question. We get to your questions. If I don't get to everybody's question in here, you guys know what we usually like to do. We will definitely go ahead and create a separate video for those that we are not able to get to fully today. So with that said, let's see what you guys got for me today, man. I haven't skimmed over any of these beforehand, so I apologize. Jessica Fryman, what's up, Jessica? With Riverdale and Nancy Drew ending, could this help Superman and Lois get a new season, or do you think Adam and Aisha's spa was the start of SPD? Huh? Wait, what? Where did I? What? Oh, and do you think? Oh, okay. I was like, what? I'm sorry, Jessica. I completely butchered that question. So it's two questions. I'm sorry. And you just put SPA together, so I just read spa, and I was like, oh, you mean SPA? I get you. With Riverdale and Nancy Drew ending, could this help Superman and Lois get a new season? I think it's probably going to get a new season anyway. James Gunn recently did come out and said it's got maybe a couple more seasons in it. People really seem to be enjoying the show, so I think they're going to continue. So I expect 1 to 2 more seasons of Superman and Lois. And heck, maybe I should shoot James Gunn a inquiry on Twitter. Be like, hey, James Gunn, is Gotham Knights sticking around for more than one season? We'll see what he responds. Because it's been getting some people have been checking it out. So whether or not it gets renewed on a second season for the CW or straight to HBO Max, who certainly knows? But we will be getting at least another season or 2 of Superman and Lois. And do you think Adam and Aisha SPA was start of SPD? I don't know if it's the start or if it's just like a parallel department within SPD. I have no idea, but maybe they are the start of it, and they've already started communicating with everybody, and SPD is ready to launch in 2 years. Maybe something along those lines. Doomsday. You might have misinterpreted my question from the last stream, but a full behind-scenes video of the final battle between Peter and Green Goblin. When I said Peter 1 was actually referring to Tom Holland's Spider-Man's nickname. Oh, in No Way Home. I'm sorry. So no, I did not see that behind the scenes. I thought you were talking about when you said Peter 1, I thought you meant like the Tobey Maguire series. So no, I have not seen the full behind video of the final battle between Peter and the Green Goblin. This might be a little bit early for predictions, But what do you think that Michael B. Jordan will win an Oscar for Best Directing for Creed 3 in 2024? Man, um, you know, there's so many more movies set to come out. Um, I was pretty impressed with his directing. I wouldn't mind a nomination. But I got to see what the other movies are like. I was really impressed, man, honestly. He had a couple of shots in there that I thought to myself, damn, that was pretty clever. That was pretty clever. There's a really cool shot too of like a hallway and a locker room. And the camera is like literally angled so you could see the inside of the locker room and the outside of the hallway. And it's Michael B. Jordan, I think, and um, Jonathan Majors having a conversation in his locker room, getting him hyped for his match. And then as he leaves the hallway, you get to see just the parallels. Michael B. Jordan's Adonis character going down the hallway, and then Jonathan Majors in the locker room standing up from his bench, and they both stop and they both look at the wall, kind of like they're looking at each other or just contemplating and thinking. And then they both go off on their way. I thought it was a great shot. And then not even just to mention the fight towards the end, the way that he included sort of like the anime style in regards to the boxing ring and the slow motion and stuff. He did really hella impressive work, man. Really hella impressive work. So I don't know if he'll win an Oscar, but I hope he's nominated at least. I think just being nominated says something. So but we'll see. We got a lot more movies to go through in 2023, but I would not mind his if he got nominated. Which Jonathan Majors role was your favorite one, Kang or Damien? Oh, Damien. Damien from Creed 3 was by far the best. He had context and substance to really sink his teeth into, and his personal relationship with Adonis just was everything. Yeah, he just channeled sort of like that tragic soul still struggling with the shit that he's been through in his life sort of thing. And I think Jonathan Majors did an amazing job portraying that. AJ, what's up, AJ? This is just me, but I like the MMPR special. We'll be using a 3D model of the actual Zap toy for the classic Dino Megazord. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I prefer them being original as possible instead of borrowing from Sentai footage like the actual Zord suit. And even old footage. I want Power Rangers to be even more original and creative in the future. And as for Robo Rita capturing past Ranger teams, I really like it. It means that she doesn't want anyone to ruin her plan, making it difficult for the MMPR team. So I like that she's capturing both of the past Rangers in the present and taking them with her to the past if that happens. So the MMPR team don't have any backup at all. Also for Zordon, they don't have to show him or recreate David Felding's head, just hear his voice when the team looking next to the camera. Zordon said in the Countdown to Destruction, his spirit will always be there, be where there is goodness. So you can still hear Zordon's voice, just don't show his face. Recreating Zordon would screw up the impact of his sacrifice. It does make me wonder too, because there are shots from the behind the scenes video and just some of the press release photos that you can see the cracked Zordon tube in the background. But there are also other shots where I see the team as a group kind of looking up at something in the command center. I don't know if it's like a new viewing globe or a screen that they're watching, or if they're literally talking to somebody, but it just gave me Zordon vibes, just kind of seeing everybody all together looking up and talking. It just reminded me of Zordon moments at the command center. So I don't know what they're going to do with that, but we'll see. But I would agree with you. I dig the 3D modeling for the actual Zord Ascension project Zords. I think it's going to look great. I think it's going to look great. Blossom, totally am looking forward to MMPR anniversary coming this week. What are you looking forward to for the 30th anniversary? For me, their fight with Robo Rita, as well as the boys, not to mention Trini's daughter. Do you remember the Go Rangers? My friends called them Power Rangers Alpha Nexus, and they came to be from finding the morphing grid by accident. How's that? Yeah, I remember the Go Rangers. I like them, Power Rangers Alpha Nexus, because they were the first team of Go, like Super Sentai teams. I don't know if that's the route that you're going, but that's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever finished the Go Rangers series. I know I was doing reactions to them. I don't think I was very far off, but I never got a chance to finish the series, unfortunately. As far as what I'm looking forward to, for me, Charlie Kirsch as Min has my attention. I really want to see her story with her mother, what that's like for her, emotional roller coaster, who her dad is, if it's Zach or somebody else, or if it's just Uncle Zach. I have no idea. I'm curious to learn a lot more about Min and just to see her impact in this story. And really just the Zach and Billy stuff. I'm looking forward to all original action. Looks props to Catherine Sutherland and Steve Cardenas, still looking great in their age. But I'm here for the OGs, man. Not to take anything away from those two, but for me, Zach, Billy, and Charlie as Min. That's what I'm there for. Um, what's up, Adam? He says, what's up, my handsome twin? Johnny Young Bosch, aka Adam, was at C2E2 this past weekend, and he did a panel where he did mention that once and always will have a small open-ended cliffhanger just in case Hasbro would ever like to put together a sequel. Would you like this if that were to happen? Does not have to be immediately, but down the line, maybe when Hasbro reboot is already here or Hasbro needs more time, they can continue our current long-running franchise, or they can continue our long-running franchise. Look, I'm open to it. This is not the first time that we've heard that. Catherine Sutherland, I believed in an interview, mentioned that the ending does feel kind of a small open-ended cliffhanger, to where if they wanted to revisit, they certainly could. And look, man, I'm gonna tell you, the momentum looks like it's in that positive direction. And I don't mean positive in the sense of, oh, it's gonna happen, it's gonna be greenlit, but I mean the potential of the general audience, people that aren't Power Ranger in the Power Ranger fandom. I feel like the momentum is continuing to build for this special. I think the Power Ranger fandom is doing most of the heavy lifting in regards to promoting and marketing it, but I do think that it's getting out there. I think that trailer definitely grabbed a lot of traction, if I'm not mistaken, also. So I think that's a really good sign, honestly. Actually, let me see here real quick. If I do once and always trailer, I want to see if I mean, look, 3 weeks ago, the Mighty Morphin trailer on Netflix has 4.8 million views. 4.8 million views, man. That's pretty good. I don't know what the likes are compared to 99,000 likes. Um, So yeah, I don't think that's bad for a 55-minute special for Power Ranger franchise that's like 30 years old. 4.8 million viewers, I think, is a pretty good numbers for the trailer alone. So I do think that it's carrying some positive momentum. Um, and I would be open to it, man. I really would. I really would. I'm very much looking forward to what Jonathan Entwistle and this reboot certainly is going to be like. But one of the things I've always said is, never say never, man. If this is successful, the idea of keeping it open certainly would be pretty cool. I personally wouldn't mind seeing them come back. Now, if you start asking about like other specials and other teams, nah, 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 like that's just nah. I just MMPR is their bread and butter, and I think that those are the ones that they should certainly focus on. Um, so yeah, give me more of it. I don't know how that would fit into Hasbro's overall plans, or if they what sort of changes that they certainly might be making. But we've kind of talked about this before. Like, I do think that you can kind of do a reboot. Um, and leave the door open to going back to that franchise if you certainly wanted to, making bigger connections. Because like I would love to see more of Charlie Kirsch's Min if this is successful, whether she's running her own team or we get the OGs back once again later on down the road. So yeah, let's just watch the series first, continue to hype other people up about it. And then if anything, then we'll see if we get ourselves a second one, but I do think is definitely very much a possibility, Adam, for sure. Marcelino, I know you're not the biggest fan of the comedic nature of Legends of Tomorrow, but there is a part of that fan base who not only love it that way, but think that changing the tone to be more comedic is what saved the series and made it better. They may not be wrong. And that serious tone is what almost killed the show. So if you were to have a conversation with some of these fans, talk to them and ask them questions, what would you say to them? And what do you think you could get out of that conversation? I mean, look, I'm a pretty fair-minded guy. I'd like to think so. I certainly don't mind hearing people's arguments and reasons for things. Just because I didn't like it doesn't necessarily mean the direction that they went to was the wrong direction. You know, I think the proof is kind of in the pudding that this series lasted as long as it did. Um, because I honestly didn't think it was going to last that long, but the fact that it did probably did put additional legs on this series to certainly continue to go out, and just continue to impress fans. I mean, also, to be fair, I do think some of these shows maybe went on a little bit longer than needed to, because at the time, CW was making a ton of money from Netflix, who was purchasing the rights to these to go ahead and put them out on streaming. So while they may not have necessarily cared what the ratings were like for something like Legends of Tomorrow, the only reason why they didn't care is because they were making a shit ton of money from Netflix and the reruns and the people going back and actually watching the series that way. But I can't argue with the idea that maybe changing the tone did extend legs on the series. Just because I didn't like it, doesn't mean it's my way or the highway. The only way the show could have been successful if it stayed serious. No, I don't definitely think that's the case, because they clearly have proven me wrong already in that sense. So, look, if people love that comedic nature, that's awesome for them. I'm really glad that they did. It just didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me. It became something that I personally didn't care for, and that's just me. But I would definitely listen to them, Marcelino, in the sense of hearing some of their arguments. Abase, what's up, Abase? The other day, I was watching some videos on the hit comedy film 22 Jump Street, which was a sequel to 21 Jump Street. Two of the YouTubers mentioned how meta both Jump Street films were, especially the post-credit montage sequence. They recalled about the 2014 Sony hack revealing the interview by Sony about the two films crossing over with a Black franchise. Just hearing about this leaked information was just hilarious. That's pretty fucking funny. Seeing Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum teaming up with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones would be absolutely insane. I can already imagine Jonah Hill teaming up with Tommy Lee Jones, since both of them were the serious ones, while Channing and Will were the more idiotic ones. What would you think if these two franchises did a crossover together? And what other things do you remember from the infamous Sony hack? God, what else did come of that Sony hack? It's been so long. I remember the 21 Jump Street and Men in Black thing. Let me see if I'm gonna Google that because I don't remember off the top of my head. Sony 2014. What was revealed by the hack? Five years later. Oh, yeah, I don't remember, man. I don't remember hardly any of this stuff. 22 days of a massive data dump that exposed embarrassing executive email exchanges, um, like one between Amy Pascal and producer Scott Rudin, in which he refers to Angelina Jolie as a minimally talented, spoiled brat. Oh, shit. God. Trade secrets, including overtures from Marvel to bring Sony owned Spider-Man to its universe. I think I might have remembered that. And five upcoming full-length movies, such as Brad Pitt's Fury, The Breach, which formed national, dubbed the most serious cyber attack ever made against U.S. interest. Oh wow, did they? Oh, was it because of the interview with Jonah Hill and I mean not Jonah Hill, was it James Franco? Yeah, James Franco and Seth Rogen. Yeah, man, I don't remember too much of it. I do feel like I remember some of the drama from Spider-Man, but that might have been the extent of it. So I do apologize. As far as the crossover, I thought the sound of the crossover was ridiculous. Um, I I don't know if I would ever want to see that movie though. It's been a minute since I checked out 21 and 22 Jump Street. I don't think I barely watched them though. I just felt like they were probably just a little bit too ridiculous for me at the time, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. But so yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to see it. I don't need to see Jump Street and Men in Black together. Let's see here. What else we got? How long we been going? 2:23. Okay. What else we got? Here we go. Nicole Robinson, what do you think of Aquaman 2 having its release date? And do you think it wasn't well received from the early test screenings, or is it ready to come out officially? What do you think of Aquaman 2 having its release date? Yeah, is that when is Aquaman 2? I think it's like Christmas time, right? Yeah, December 20th of this year. Um, let's so let me read this real quick. As far as screen testings go for Aquaman, um, it's that according to reports, it has not been well received. Um, Again, these are just rumors. Multiple reports say the new test screenings are performing terribly. It says Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom faces scrutiny after reports of poor performing test screenings emerge. While fans have been quiet for a while, multiple reports now confirm poor performing test screenings. Big screen leaks and film critic Jeff Snyder backed up an initial report from viewer Annan suggesting Lost Kingdom held half a dozen test screenings, yielding bleak results for the James Wan directed movie. According to Big Screen Leaks, the studio purposefully avoided answering questions about the DCU movie because test screenings for this film have not been good, while also claiming to hear something that almost never happened in the test screening happened in this movie. Snyder followed up with this quip by stating the bad test screenings are part of the reason Jason Momoa has been tipped to join as the long rumored Lobo. Even though I thought James Gunn came out and confirmed that he wasn't going to be doing that, wasn't going to be Lobo, but maybe I'm wrong. Look, I'll be honest. Also, side mention, comic book resources does say Snyder alluded to the original Aquaman being awful too. A similar sentiment various critics hurled upon the film following its 2018 release. I think that's important. First off, let me just say one, anytime somebody says test screenings, I don't initially believe them. Um, I think test screenings definitely do happen very much in secret, but I think half these people that say, "Hey, test screenings happen," there's no damn test screenings. Not to say that there weren't any test screenings here. I'm just being honest. There are certain times people will say, "Hey, a test screening is happening." It hasn't happened. But in some instances, yes, it is true. Um, I think the fact also that when it comes to test screenings, I haven't seen an article from like Deadline, Variety, um, Screen Rant, Collider confirming this type of stuff, right? They're all going around, they're being reported as rumors. It's being reported as a rumor, right? It's rumored to be a big mess. So one, um, it's just a rumor right now. And two, I don't know. Have they had early screenings? I have no idea. Nobody's confirming this to me. Although Jeff Snyder, who usually does reveal things, is usually pretty reliable. But again, I will also point out what the article stated. Snyder alluded to the original Aquaman being awful too. A similar sentiment various critics hurled upon the film following its 2018 release. So those critics already didn't like the first Aquaman. You think they're going to like the second Aquaman? This is why sometimes you got to be worried about who's reporting what, how are they reporting things, and where's the source coming from. Because you already have critics that bashed the first Aquaman movie and weren't big fans of it. And people love the movie. Well, I don't want to say people love the movie because I'm sure there were some people that weren't fans of it. But the movie went on to make $1 billion. Okay. You make that money from somewhere. Someone's enjoying your movie, clearly. But these critics want to tell you the movie was awful, right? So what do they want to do for Aquaman 2? They want to tell you it's awful before you've even fucking seen the movie. They want to tell you it's fucking awful, guys. So no, I don't. I'll believe it with my own eyes. Thank you very much. I don't I don't need critics to be sandbagging something before it's even come out. When you're not even Deadline, you're not even Variety, you're not even the Hollywood Reporter, you're not even Empire Magazine to give me these details. You know what I'm saying? You're already a biased critic making another biased criticism for a movie that hasn't even been released yet. So, look, some people I'm sure looked at Aquaman and was like, this is a hot mess. I personally found it extremely fun. I thought Jason Momoa really made that movie fun for me. I thought the battles towards the end, especially the big underwater battle sequence, was incredible and really well done. I enjoyed it for what it was. I really did. I'm not saying it blew me away. I'm surprised the movie made $1 billion, but it eventually did. So people clearly went back and saw it. Good word of mouth, and people clearly enjoyed this movie. So don't let them gaslight you already before the movie has even come out, man. So yeah, I do not believe these rumors. If the movie could come out and be absolutely trash, it really could be. Sequels are very difficult to certainly do, right? I'm not saying that it's not possible of happening. I'm just saying what we're um 8 months out from this movie coming out, and people are already talking about how awful it is. You thought the first one was awful too, and I enjoyed it. So I'm just going to go into this movie with an open mind, as I think a lot of us certainly should. Oops, I didn't mean to close that down. What else we got? John Schuyler. Oh man, it's a long one. You guys talked about this a lot, but I feel like ever since Samurai, the team ups and Power Rangers have been really bad. You're probably not wrong. The footage itself was from the Sentai series, Cure Ranger versus Go Busters, which was all about 3 different Dino Ranger teams. Whereas in Beast Morphers, we got Jason, who was the original Red Ranger, who was just there as an afterthought and to accommodate the Japanese footage. He was briefly used, that he didn't even get anyone to represent Dino Thunder, just lousy, unknown voiceovers. I get it. When it comes to MMPR, it was really hard to bring back the original cast members due to the show being non-union. But on the other hand, it irritates me that we couldn't get any of them or Dino Thunder actors to do their voices, yet we were able to with Riley and Shelby as a Dino Charge Green Rangers and Pink Rangers, confirmed by Brandon Mejia himself. Tyler himself was a jerk when he interrupted Jason when he introduced himself. The story on its own was pretty weak, with a dumb morale with Devin, and the whole morphing grid nonsense, though the build of the up to the crossover itself was one of the best I've seen. They planted a lot of seeds throughout references right before the crossover. The biggest thing that made no sense was the classic Megazord and Thundersaurus Megazord magically revived due to the morphing grid. At least in Super Sentai, the classic Megazord was a living being and was able to duplicate itself with the other 2 Megazords. Anyways, this entire crossover had so much potential. It's so jarring that Ninja Steel, which was really bad series, had a better team up in Dimensions of Danger, which was very much new original footage, while Beast Morphers, which was a good series, had the bad team up with mainly Sentai footage. This is why I felt Super Sentai is a huge disadvantage if you don't want to create all new and original footage with better writing. So I really wish the crossover was solely just with the Dino Charge Rangers, considering the Sentai crossover took place during Cure Ranger. Sorry for sharing. Sorry for sharing this. Thoughts on this compared to the ones we had in Ninja Steel. It was that, I while I enjoyed it, I'm not gonna lie, it was sloppy. Um, I was always I always thought it was dangerous to even try and do that crossover just because of the dependency on Super Sentai, honestly. I didn't mind the Austin St. John stuff personally. I was a big fan of it. But that's just me. But I can understand some people feeling kind of underwhelmed. For me, Dimensions in Danger, while again enjoyable, the copy and paste of Lord Draken, but not Lord Draken, made me roll my eyes for majority of this of that crossover too. So they both definitely had their faults to me. Um, But I get some of your complaints, and thus why I'm such a big proponent and pushing forward of all original footage, whether that be action sequences, Zord sequences, whatever the case may be, all original footages. But people want to push back against me. Adam, we need Super Sentai for Power Rangers to live. No, we don't. No, we don't. It does allow for them to be able to create their own stories, and I do think the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers will showcase to people why we don't necessarily need to be connected to Sentai footage as much as we have been in the past. That originality will hopefully allow them to break those handcuffs, those creative handcuffs, and give us something original and unique and different. As far as like the voice acting work, I think a lot of this also has to maybe deal with the Dino Thunder Rangers themselves. I don't necessarily know if they wanted to be involved. I don't know if that's on Hasbro, or if it's they've moved on and just didn't want anything to necessarily do with it. Not to say all of them, but maybe some of them. I think the gentleman that played the Blue Ranger, I think he might have been open to coming back. I could be wrong, but you guys let me know in the comment section box below. But look, it's under Hasbro now, so we'll see what Hasbro decides to do with that type of stuff. Hopefully, they make better decisions going forward, John. Roberto Buena, what's up, Roberto? What you got for me today, man? He says, if Heckle does return in Power Rangers Cosmic Fury, especially as a long-awaited Dark Ranger, do you think this could make some fans appreciate Dino Charge more as a series, since it was the actual show that Heckle was a part of? And yeah, it would not surprise me if Dino Charge gets a little bit of bump in viewership after this anniversary season. But the whole idea was scrap thanks to Saban. Yeah, what a dumbass, right? So maybe Heckle finally become a Dark Ranger could redeem Dino Charge a little bit as a series, despite the weird time and time travel in its series finale. I think it could, Roberto. Totally. If Heckle is utilized correctly and properly, and we do see him as a Dark Ranger in Cosmic Fury, I do think there will be a bump of people revisiting Dino Charge for sure. Jack Daniels, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I asked this before about why I love Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift and why I think the current franchise being bombastically ridiculous was a great change. Because in my perspective, the films certainly wouldn't last long if it was strictly street racing. It's not like they forgot where the movies came from. They made a conscious decision to shift to more action-oriented storylines because it reached a broader audience. Even by the time Tokyo Drift came out, street racing was already somewhat played out. While some people hated that Fast and Furious 4 turned out to be the prequel to Tokyo Drift, I actually really liked the twist because it further connected Dom Toretto to Han, since Vin Diesel himself did actually cameo at the end of Tokyo Drift. We would later get the return of Lucas Black as Sean in Fast 7 and 9, who was the protagonist of Tokyo Drift. Anyways, what I give Tokyo Drift credit over the first two films was it actually incorporated street racing into the story more fully. Despite what the franchise has become now, people clearly still go out and see every installment. The latest trailer for Fast X does seem like it brought back street racing, which was the franchise DNA since day one. Yeah, look, I would agree with you. Even though it has kind of gotten ridiculous, I do think it was a great move on their part. The fact that we've got a 10th Fast and the Furious movie, I think, is showcases that extremely well. And I think also as it's gone along, it continues to embrace its ridiculousness even more fully. And so I think people go appreciating that and understanding that the series knows what it wants to be and it executes it extremely well. If you like that bombastic, over the top sort of action sequences, Fast and Furious is probably for you. But I do think that that transition was extremely well done. I wasn't a fan of Tokyo Drift, but you're right in the sense of I do think the prequel, the idea of Fast and the Furious 4, I do think that was certainly a good move, and it very much reinvigorated this franchise, and it was definitely needed. So I wouldn't have expected 10 movies from this franchise, but they knew what they were doing apparently. Jackson Peterson. Last week, he talked about Jonathan Majors being arrested for domestic assault against his girlfriend. If he is proven guilty, will Kevin Feige take action, or will the situation be glossed over just like Ezra Miller? Plus, how are sources getting this information when a celebrity gets arrested? Like, are people just randomly waiting outside to see an actor or singer do something controversial and then arrested? I think that is the definition of paparazzi, Jackson. If you're famous and you're a star, they are everywhere that you go. You can come out of the bathroom stall. There's probably one or two photographers waiting out the bathroom. And there's probably 10 or 11 waiting outside the restaurant that you're in, that you're eating at, you know? So if you're a big and rising star like Jonathan Majors, I don't think they're following you because they're waiting for you to fuck up or do something controversial, but they always want to know what you're doing, what you're up to, what's the next soundbite you're gonna give, what's the next interview, what are you gonna say next, sort of thing. That's literally the definition of paparazzi: is to follow you everywhere you go and be everywhere that you certainly are at. So that's how they get their information, and also we're just in the world of technology these days, and just information moves so quickly. You know, it only takes one person to see something to text, send, and fucking the whole world knows what happened. You know what I mean? Sort of thing. So information definitely does move quickly, but it definitely helps if you're a paparazzi who's usually there. Um, you know, to pick up on those things quickly. Like, I don't think they're there watching the action actually take place, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's some people like literally outside of Jonathan Major's home, or there's somebody at TMZ literally listening to like the police scanner to see like what emergencies come through, if it's involved with anybody, type of thing, right? So yeah, all the media and paparazzi got you covered forever. Um, as far as will Kevin Feige take action, or will the situation be glossed over just like Ezra Miller? Look, I have been reading reports and rumors and the idea that they are contemplating recasting the Kang character. Um, I would not want to be Kevin Feige in Marvel right now. I don't think that they'll gloss over it like the Ezra Miller situation. No, I think something will concretely happen. Um, they're not necessarily Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is definitely just some deceptive shit, man. Like they just really ignore the f out of things sometimes, and don't really address things when they certainly should. Um, so nobody should go the route or utilize Warner Brothers Discovery as a template on how to handle a situation like this. Like they should not. Okay. Even though Ezra Miller is certainly getting a pass, nobody believes that this man deserves a pass. And I can tell you honestly, if Jonathan Majors is found guilty, nobody will want Jonathan Majors to get a pass either. I'm hoping that he's innocent. We haven't heard anything. And if you ask me, sometimes I think quiet is almost damning, you know. Um, as much as his lawyer came out and was like, "We've got evidence. Look at these text messages," sort of thing. I haven't heard anybody say they dropped the charges officially. Maybe I'm wrong. If they have officially dropped the charges, please go ahead and let me know somewhere. But I don't believe that that's the case, and so it's still very much up in the air. And I think Marvel has a really terrible decision that they have to eventually make. You put a lot of money and a lot of effort behind getting this dude and making him a pivotal part of your multiversal saga. And so to have this happen and potentially blow up in your face, yeah, this is like it's almost like DC and Marvel are changing like positions, like swapping places, almost like the Marvels. They use their powers, whoop, they swapped all of a sudden. Now it's like Marvel's the one with all the drama on their side. So again, that's just reports and rumors that I'm reading, that they are contemplating the idea of recasting. Can the recasting work? Maybe, because we're in the multiversal stage. Maybe it's another variant of Kang. I have no idea. But it will be some heavy lifting, to say the least. And I am kind of curious if some things that have Jonathan Majors in it will be delayed. I got to imagine that this is giving Marvel Studios somewhat of a headache, especially when you got Loki season 2 that's getting ready to drop later on this year, and Jonathan Majors is in that. Do you quietly just go ahead and release that and not promote it so much? Maybe maybe it's still business as usual until they get something more concrete. And when they do get things more concrete, or they let the justice system sort of play itself out, then maybe at that point, then they'll make changes accordingly. But I will just say this: I don't be surprised if he does get recast, if this really evolves into more. Um, it's a little bit of a bummer, man. I hope again. I hope he's innocent. Um, because I really seem to admire the dude. He was saying all the right things. Somebody that you felt, man, he's a really great role model. Somebody that you can really look up to. But this is why I tell people all the time. Sometimes you just can't put all of your faith into somebody. Sometimes you got to prepare yourself for that type of stuff. Um, we're not perfect. We're not human beings. We fuck up. You know. Um, so yeah, man. I really hope it's not true, but we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Um, Carter Matthews, what's up, Carter? The aftermath of No Way Home. In Spider-Man No Way Home, when Doctor Strange erased the entire world's memories and everyone who knew of Peter Parker's identity, do you think this also meant that every news report, footage, videos, and pictures of him magically disappeared? Did this also meant that even Tobey Maguire and Garfield's Peter Parker identities were erased from people's they cared about? Plus, what about the villains? Did the impact of them become corrupted, get erased? Like James Franco's Harry Osborn? Does he no longer know that Peter was Spider-Man and his death being reversed since the whole reason he became Goblin and Spider-Man 3 was because he found out that Peter was Spidey? That's a good question. So like I'm under the impression it's just Tom Holland's. Um, I don't think it's affected for Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield's Peter Parkers. I'm under the impression it's simply just for Tom Holland's Peter. So when Doctor Strange erased the entire world's memories of everyone who knew of Peter's identity, do you think this also meant that every news report, footage, videos, and pictures of him magically disappeared? Yes. Or the mask was put on to any of that footage. So yes, I'm under the impression that if it's a reveal of Peter in the suit where you can see who is wearing the costume, those moments will in fact be forgotten, or any of those moments where he's had interactions with people as Peter Parker. So yeah, I think that's where that goes from there. So he's pretty much a clean slate. So like I can still see him being a member of the Avengers. They just have no idea who's under the mask. Is kind of how I'm assuming, along with the villains and stuff. They really have no idea who's under the mask. They just know him as Spider-Man. All right, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up because it is getting kind of late. It's past 10 o'clock here. I know we're only 2 hours and 45 minutes in, but it's been a long day and a draining day to say the least. So, if anything, starting with Adrian Perez, I will start off live viewer questions with you, Adrian, and we'll work our way all the way up to Kurt Marino. So, if anything, again, this whole week, I'm gonna be working from my office. Out in a different city. So I'm not going to be home to have access to my laptop to make content very quickly. I usually do not get home until about 7 o'clock at night. So a lot of the stuff that you guys see will probably be pre-recorded. But what I will do is tomorrow when I get home from work, I will go ahead and record a review for record a video for live viewer questions and drop it Tuesday morning for you guys. So pay attention to that. So a live viewer question video beginning with Adrian, working my way all the way up to Kurt, will be dropped for you guys Tuesday morning. So certainly look out for that, guys. But other than that, that will do it for us for our live viewer question segment. Marcelino says, you have to keep in mind Lord Draven was written before Shattered Dream was finalized. That's fair. I'm a big believer that workers work better and writers better when restrictions are given. Sometimes you need someone to tell you no and tell you what your limits are. I guess, but Super Sentai is a whole different level of constraint. I think there's a difference between writing something, giving your notes to a producer or the studio, and they give you notes back on what to change, compared to having something that's already plotted out for you and set for you. and then you having to then navigate through all of that. I get the fear and the worry of an unrestrained writer. In some instances, yes, I do see that as a case. Like Taika Waititi, I don't necessarily know if I want him to be restrained, but I think that's where studio notes come into play, in the sense of like, maybe that's reeled this back in. So I get what you're saying, but I view that compared to the situation Power Rangers is in completely different, in a sense that Super Sentai literally plots out a story for you, the marks you have to hit, the moments you have to hit, and then you have to then create your own story that intertwines between that, so you can use that footage properly. And it's all got to that just feels like a fucking headache just explaining it. So it does feel like two different avenues of writing and how that's executed. But I get what you're talking about, Marcelino. Other than that, guys, I think that's going to do it for us. I will be back next Sunday. What time will we be back? Yeah, is unknown as of right now. I will see if I can. I do believe I might have somebody be able to watch Kiddo for me, so we might be able to do something Sunday. But I'm also going to talk to the fellas about trying to, again, to try and figure out a day. I'm even going to have to talk to the girlfriend also and try and figure out a day that works. That we can have something more consistent for you guys, because I understand the importance of consistent videos, and you guys expecting things to be there when we say it's certainly going to be there. I always try and hold true to my word in that regard, so I apologize if we haven't necessarily been the best about that as of right now. But next week we will be back next Sunday for sure. I don't think there's any random holiday popping up yet, so I think that's what happened to us last weekend too, was that it was Easter also, and I completely went over my head. So, but we will be back next Sunday for you guys. Probably when I post the live viewer question post later on this week. If anything, it'll probably let you know what time you can expect our Sunday episode of A Plus Hero Report, and hopefully I'll be able to have either Stuart or Indy, or at least another co-host, maybe another collaboration moment, who certainly knows, for you guys on the channel. With that out of the way, again, we are looking for additional help. If you guys want to become official team members for Hero Report and create content for the channel in some way or capacity, we definitely want to hear from you. Whether that be working social media in regards to promoting our videos for us, putting up your own possible reels or YouTube shorts to give your quick thoughts. We definitely would love somebody that feels comfortable on the social media side. You don't have to necessarily always show your face, but if you want to, you certainly can. We're also looking for somebody over on our Facebook page to post news, posters, trailers on the daily, and give us your particular thoughts as well over on our Facebook page, to make sure that our Facebook page is always up to date throughout the day. But if you want to go ahead and feel comfortable in front of the camera, we would love to have you as a contributor here for A Plus Hero Report, whether that be weekly long form reviews, or if you have additional content that you would like to create that you think would certainly be great on our channel. We're certainly very much open to hearing some of your creative choices. And, if it's something that you've always considered possibly doing, but have never had a platform, we definitely have a platform here for you to certainly grow, as we are looking for consistent contributors here at A Plus Hero Report, to have some fun with us, man, and talk some stuff maybe on Sundays, or again, if you want to review a Netflix show or Amazon show, or maybe you go to the movies on a weekly basis and you're constantly watching new releases, we also would love movie reviews on the channel also. So plenty of room to grow here on Hero Report. We just want to know if you're interested in joining. So feel free to go ahead and reach out to us. You can find me on social media right here at A Plus Opinions. You can direct message me on any of those forums if you like, or if you want to email me directly, aplusopinions@gmail.com, guys. So definitely go ahead and reach out to us. But other than that, that's going to wrap it up for us here, man. We'll definitely be back next week with a much more tighter format for the show. But overall, guys, thank you so much for certainly joining us here, and we'll certainly see you next week. But until then, do me a big favor as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.